You're listening to Ernestly Speaking, the only weekly podcast that covers friends, foes, and anything that goes. And now, for your badass host, Ernest Owens. And we're back with another episode of Ernestly Speaking with your host, Ernest Owens, myself. Well, we are finally in mid-December. The year is going by pretty fast. And I'm actually a little happy about it because I can finally get ready to go out of town. Next week, which will be a week, next week I will be in Houston, Texas. I will be recording this podcast in Houston. Yeah, I'll be heading out on Sunday for a whole week. I'm only going to do a week in Houston this year because I have some plans. The Lit Brothers and I are going to be getting together to do a pre-New Year's Eve. It's not going to be on New Year's Eve, but we're going to be in Atlantic City on what would be considered New Year's Eve weekend. Because this year, New Year's Eve is like on a weekday or whatever, if and all that. But we are going to be doing our big one in Atlantic City, Hard Rock to be exact. And also, I'm getting ready for some, major positions and shifts. More news on that. I think the news will be coming out this upcoming week. So stay tuned. I think by then, I'll be ready to share some things. But I know a lot of people was asking, oh, well, I've been waiting. Let me explain something. When you leave a place that you've been at for a period of time, I always say, I don't want to do the Biden announcement ordeal. No shade to Biden, but when President Biden, because he's still president for a couple of weeks, when he announced he was not running for re-election, that should have been a moment where we all should have taken a moment to reflect on this man's legacy. Instead, we couldn't do that because 15 minutes later, he announces that he's backing Vice President Kamala Harris for president, and then we just moved on. And we never really took the time to reflect that this man's political career was over because we was ready for what was next. And so I just personally wanted to take some time that before I made my next announcement on my next move and everything like that, I wanted to take some time to make sure that on the back end with people I collaborated with, the writers, different folks, restaurants that I had covered, that I was able to get all my ducks in order and just make sure those people knew that they mattered and working to make sure that they know that, hey, this is how it's going to work. And so that takes a little bit of time, but also I wanted to have some space between these announcements. You just don't want to just hit people with that. I think about 2018, 2018, when I was shutting down G Philly. And that was a moment because G Philly was like, I did that for nearly 2 years. And, that was a milestone in my career, just covering LGBTQ news. And I was about to branch off into this new role as writer at large for Philadelphia Magazine. But at the time, that was a moment. People were like, dang, we're going to lose this LGBTQ, publication. What's next? What am I going to do? There was a lot of that going on. I knew what was next, but I wanted to, take some time because a lot of times when you announce new roles, people don't give you that time to breathe. People will bombard you with all these, let's take a meeting, let's take lunch, and da-da-da. I was like, no. I need to space and pace. And even when this announcement drops, I purposely want to be able to be on the verge of vacation so I can be able to say, let's circle back after the holidays. Because that's the season I'm on right now. I'm like, unless we are close, unless you have my number and we talk on a regular basis, whatever, you're getting the let's circle back around the holidays energy. For sure. That is my attitude about this. Like, let's circle back around the holidays mode. For sure. But it's been interesting, to say the least. And I've been just enjoying some time to myself, just chilling, just taking it easy. Um, you know, because I've realized I have been going nonstop for this year. Like, I mean, I, Martha's Vineyard, different little breaks in between, but I was like, I like not having to do too many emails for a period of time. Like, my high productivity self can't even, like, listen, even though I am quote unquote breaking right now, I am still kind of doing some things, but at the same time enjoying it. Like the hustle and bustle of like not going to restaurants 3 to 4 times a week has been, it's been a little, like I'm at home. I'm just chilling. And that's the thing too. It's like, okay, if I'm not at one thing, then I'm curious to know, well, where do I go next? Um, so that's my, that was my mindset at first. Like, okay, well, in lieu of this, I can do this. And it was like, no, even though I have been going to holiday parties, and we're going to talk about some holiday parties in a minute, but I've kind of been in the space of, I want to rest. I just want to chill. I want to just take time to plan for next year. And so I've had time to plan for next year. Some interesting, cool things have fallen on my lap, has fallen on my lap, and I'm taking some time to say, okay, some that requires some traveling to some interesting places, and more on that down the road. But I'm like, okay, I'm gonna be traveling next year, in a good way, because my rules has always been I'm really not a person like to travel, but if I have to travel, best believe it's got to be something upscale, and it's got to be something. There's got to be some business in it. I just personally am like, do I really want to go? Like, especially with everything going on with the government. But sometimes you get offer you can't refuse. So I'm looking forward to that. But I say all this to say that it's been a nice chill, getting myself in holiday mode, um, especially going to Houston, because when I go down south for the holidays, it is probably one of the few times of the year where literally there isn't anything to do, because I'm literally in Texas, you know, where I stay, the area I live in, like, I don't know how to drive. So, it's very like, okay, if you get in the car, we going somewhere, we know where we're going. It's not like I could just bounce around. And then you don't really Uber. Like, Uber is like not I mean, Uber, I guess, is a thing in Houston, but like, because everything is like far from each other, it's not like Philly where you could take an Uber 10 minutes away, 20 minutes away, and the rates are much smaller. You in Houston, if you going somewhere on an Uber, which I'm not, but if I ever did, it would be, I don't need to be over there for about a couple of hours. It could be something like I'm gonna make a little cute little stop over here. No, you want to invest some serious time, So I get a chance to just be in the house and just chill, eat food like that is not at a restaurant, just, which is good, because I mean, we cook fine here, and it's no problem. But I think about, like, I'm like, why do I never like I'm thinking about, like, why I don't just get used to, because one, I don't eat everyone's food, and everyone cannot cook, and I'm not like, hell bent on cooking like that anyway. I mean, Uber Eats still exists, but when I'm at my mom's house, I'm very much like, we eat in a house, and it's real food, real ingredients, where all the spices are in the cabinet, when there's all the meats in the deep freezer, like, everything is where it needs to be. As much as I pride myself on adulting, and I think I've done a good job, it's just something about going in a grown ass person's house and knowing that they just know, they just do it because they've done it longer than you, but you can appreciate it. And because I don't cook that often, I mean, we have spices and things, but it's just like, there's shit in there. I'm like, what? There's pans, all types of pans. There's stainless steel pans. There's non-stick pans. There's cast iron skillets. There's pots, big pots, pasta pots, soup pots. I mean, it's a thing. I don't have that much space in my place for all them goddamn pots. I'm like, you have a whole area full of just pots. You got varieties of pots. You got special edition, limited edition, holiday version, the red rim skillet, the all black skillets, the cast iron skillets. I think she got the what's that the brown one, Tabitha Brown set edition. Like it's just like what is going on? But that's but also she lives in a home, not a condo apartment, nothing. She lives in a house. I just it's something about it. The food just tastes different. The quality is elevated. So I look forward to that. I look forward to it. Like how I do catering for Thanksgiving and New Year's and all that. Oh, there's no catering at my mom's house. It's no catering. No, there is. We cook. We actually cook. We cook. We cook. For days. Things are soaking and there's brines. Like when I get in there, I put the apron on. I get to work, and I don't play in the kitchen like Kamala do. Kamala do what she do. We not playing with those greens. We're cooking for real. Like stuff is already, when I get there, things are already being brined. Okay. The only thing we getting ready to do is cut a couple of vegetables on demand, some yams and stuff. But best believe stuff is already being seasoned. Stuff is already being soaked. Like when I get in there, it's time to go to work. So I do cook. I do cook during Christmas time. That's the one time that I take it seriously. But it's an event. It is an event. There's multiple people. There's a party. Okay. This is when I think I talked about this when I was talking about Thanksgiving, but this is the type of Christmas where it's a day-long event and people are eating their way through. People, do their little gifts and all that kind of stuff, but then come past 4:00 and there's a series of visitors. There's the first, which is the main family dinner where everybody's like, okay, let's do dinner, yada, yada, yada. Cute pictures, all that shit. Then after that, you have your next waves of people that just stop by. Then it becomes a trade-off where people just start bringing, they see stuff that you got that they like, they take some stuff, then you bring, cakes and desserts. Some people come and bring cakes and pies and stuff. Some stuff they like from you, they'll take this and they'll exchange it for this. And it becomes like a dessert bartering thing. And then you find yourself at the end of the evening thinking, oh, we ate a lot. We tore down. And then you're wondering, how the hell do we still have as much food as we had prior? Because people then drop things off. And you don't, for the most part, everybody, at least around my parts, everybody can cook for the most part. So you don't want to throw anything away. And that's typically how my Christmas is when it comes to food. Of course, there is the new habits we've been trying to do, which is hilarious, which is we don't like the big old Christmas paper wrapping mess. So we've had this new thing we've installed where, at least for now with the boys, the younger boys, it's like, okay, when you open gifts, put the wrappers in the trash bag immediately. We have a big old trash bag and we just say, oh, look at that. Now put that wrapper in that bag. Like, so that we didn't, because there used to be an era where it would be a day of lots of Christmas wrapping paper on the floor, ribbons, and sometimes you'd be thinking, why are all these ribbons? Why do we do all this? No one's going to care once they open a gift. So I think we've not put bows and things on everything. Now, the way we do it now is if you get a bow, you put the bow on the big gift. Like it's like almost like a signifier of open all these other gifts, but that's the main one. You say that one for last. So that's the signifier. But then everything else, gets wrapping, but the big gift has a bow on and everything else is kind of like, you're just opening your way through. This is just capitalism. I apologize for folks who's like, what are you talking about? This is just ridiculous, excessive mass capitalism in the name of holiday spirit and joy. But no, Christmas is definitely a good time for sure. And it's also an escapism from, not suburban life, because I'm in the suburbs in Houston, but like it's an escape from urban life, fast-paced East Coast life living. And you go to the South, things are much slower, relaxed, and chill. And there's no events every night. There's no need to put on a blazer. I'm in sweaters and sweatpants and all that. So it just feels like comfort and laxness. But I've been very strategic though when I stay home. I have a new policy. I like to stay home for less than 10 days. That's become my new thing, because in the past, I would stay for like 3 weeks or 2.5 weeks and whatnot. I would stay for an extended period of time. But I've noticed the trend. You go from guest to house worker very quickly when you stay at your parents' house. And anybody who can relate knows. Now, see, you East Coasters, you all take little trains and drive down to folks and you stay for a couple of days. But when you're in, if anybody who lives on the East Coast that go down south to go to another part of the country to see family, you know you really can't stay there for like 2 to 3 days unless you just got it like that. I just I like that if I'm going to be down, I want to stay for at least a week. Like that just makes sense to me. So it will never be like 2 to 3 days. I mean, I just don't, unless I got a private jet or something, but that's not, I won't say never, but I'm not that person. I want to be there for a couple of days, just really. But there's a part where you stay for a nice time, but you don't stay for a long time. And so when I was younger and I was in college, I used to spend, the holiday winter break used to be the longest break. And so I would stay for like over 3 weeks or something. It'd be a period of time because back then I didn't have a house of my own in Philly. So, if you was going, you had nowhere else to go. Otherwise, you was going to be in the dorm by yourself because everybody else was going. So when I would stay in the very beginning, it would be real like, oh, everybody's all nice. And, you feel like a guest, your room all made up all nice. What do you want to eat? Oh, mom's cooking. Everybody's doing their thing. It's so nice. Everything up until Christmas, fabulous, fabulous. But I want to say about 2 days after Christmas, you start realizing that you're a maintenance guy. You got to fix roofs and stuff. And I don't know if I'm built for that. I mean, as much as I live like a diva here in Philadelphia, I am that guy when I'm at my house. Okay. None of that matters. Okay. None of that matters. Okay. I have height. I have a strong back. And it's a group of us boys who got some height on us. Look, she puts Mr. Johnson to work too. Everybody do their part. Okay. I am no VIP at my mother's house. Okay. I am a part of the crew. And because I'm the oldest, I have to do my part. So I've learned, okay, where's that middle part before this becomes labor and no longer luxury? Well, what I try to do now is I try to ask her, like, what do you need? What do you need while I'm feeling in the holiday spirit? What do you need me to do? What's the needs now? Like don't wait. Don't try to get me all fed and all that. Cause no. When I come in, now I do, at least the past 2 years, I come and I'm like, okay, what needs work in this house? What's something that you can't reach? What's something that you need me to patch up? Whatever it is, let me know now so that I'm not walking around, thinking everything's all good. Okay, I'm chilling. Then next thing you know, here comes the surprises. So, she says she has some little things that I can do on Sunday when I get there, and I'll do a Sunday, and I'll record the podcast. Next week's episode I'm recording in Houston. I don't know if I'm going to have any special guests, aka some of my siblings. They might listen to me, because I have to make. I have a little. It's so funny. So I don't know if you all know this. I have like a little studio situation at my mom's house. She has a 6-bedroom house. It's nice. I have like a little room that I go into and I record, and there's like a desk. There's like a little sound, there's a little bit of acoustic things that allows me to really get into recording in a way that maintains the quality. And it's upstairs. It's away from all of like the major central noise of the place. And so I've recorded there in the past. I mean, because I did it last year. I normally do 1 to 2 episodes, but I think this time around I'll be home the following week. So the final episode 25 of this season will be recorded. It will be recorded at my house. And then afterwards, there'll be a break. As you all know, we take off that first weekend of January. And then I return, the following week after that, which will probably most likely be, if I do my calendar right, let me see, because I don't want to get you all excited, but I want to tell you, when will the new season premiere of Ernestly Speaking land? Season 8 premiere. Let me see. So this is episode 23, which is where we're at right now. Episode 24 will be on the 23rd. We'll drop the 23rd. Episode 25, the season finale, will actually land on December 30th. And then we're on a break. We're on a break. We don't come back until January 13th. So that's a big day. So January 13th will be the season. Yeah, it will be the season 8 premiere on January 13th. We're gonna take a nice little break, and we're gonna take that cute break, and then we're gonna be back together on the 13th. So nice break. And when I come back on the 13th, we're gonna have a lot to talk about, which I won't get into now, but we'll have a lot to talk about for that episode. Cause yeah, we got some, yeah, cause I'm looking at my calendar for some reasons. There's a lot of stuff that's gonna be taking place that week of the 6th to the 12th or whatever. There's a lot going on that week. Y'all don't know about it yet, but there's a lot going on that week. And so when I get back to record on Sunday and you get the episode on Monday the 13th, we will have a lot to unpack and discuss. So brace yourselves. It is going to be one hell of an episode. And a great season 8 premiere is going to be a great coming back episode because a lot of stuff will be at play. We'll be heading into the Trump inauguration the following week, getting ready for that shit. City Council will not be in session yet. They won't be in session yet. They might be in session the following week, but we'll be getting ready for that. We'll be in the year where a lot of early New Year's Eve, I'm off work nonsense will be out the way. There'll be a lot going on the 13th. So the premiere is going to be premiering. It's going to be premiering. And yeah, so get ready. Season 8 premiere will be on Monday, January 13th. Put on your calendar. And then the finale of this show of season 7, the finale will be on December 30th. So we got a couple of more episodes. The countdown is ticking. What's the reveals? What's the shockers? What's the end of my year? What's my last thoughts on the end of the year? What's coming down? What's going down? Everything is building up in anticipation. So yeah, so that's what I've been doing. I've been relaxing, taking it easy, just enjoying it. December has been just a really relaxing month, even though there has been some news out there in the streets. But as far as I go, I've been taking it easy. I've been going to holiday parties. This year, I don't know, the holiday parties have not been popping, with the exception of one party in particular. I'll get to that holiday party in a minute. But overall, the holiday parties ain't been popping. I don't know. Maybe it's just me. I just feel like people are like half-assing it. Like, if you're going to do a holiday party, there's got to be holiday energy. Decorations, certain desserts, cookies, treats, I don't know, a themed cocktail perhaps. But if you're going to call it a holiday party, give it some holiday special. I need to see some garnishes, some trees, something. Otherwise, it's just an end of the year happy hour. But just, I don't know. Holiday parties this year just feels like people have been slacking. And I get it because there is a lot of, people are, concerned about the political climate. There has been layoffs happening, of course, and folks are just not feeling the holiday spirit. I get it. But then my mindset is, if that is the case, then don't throw a holiday party. But no, I've been to a few holiday parties this year that has just been very mediocre. It's been like, oh, and let me be very clear. These are not people throwing holiday parties at their house. I'm talking about company holiday parties. So a couple of organizations and groups that I know, I've plus one dad or friends have invited me to go to some of theirs for their job and stuff. I've just been going to some of these parties. I've just been like, And then there's people doing this. And now if you're a company, you're an organization. Now, this is one of my ops had a holiday party. They threw a holiday party, child, at one of my spots that I like to go to. But they told people food and drink on your own. I said, now hold on real quick. Why would you tell people to come to a holiday party and they got to pay for their own food and pay for their own drinks? Now, some places we'll do all the food, we'll do the appetizers, but you got to buy the cocktails because On the tax tip, they can't pay for liquor. Get it. Got it. Good. And if you're paying for the food, look, ain't nothing for a boss. I'll get my drinks. But when you're telling people they have to buy their food and their drinks, why is that a holiday party? What are they doing? How is that? Like, I think that is just so tacky of your organization. If I was the leader, let's say I was on the board and I was the president or whatever the case was, baby, my pride would not allow me to put on a flyer food and drink on your own. Now, if I said, look, alcoholic beverages, there'd be some drink specials. See, when you put the word drink special, people don't know how to do events anymore, child. Y'all know I've had the event planning bug in me since my wedding. And ever since then, there's been some special gene that has come into me where I just love organization. I just love planning. Everything I do, I got a fucking flyer. I like to put on details. I like to tell y'all what time it is, where it's at, what to bring, what not to bring. I like to get everybody to fuck together, okay? I do not play any games when I throw events. One thing about it, and I've built a reputation. People love to be like, look, I know if I go to Ernest event, it's going to be lit. That's right. Anything I do is either going to be all or nothing. We don't play no games over here. There's going to be some type of open bar. If I can get if I got a budget, it's going to be an open bar. We going to make sure you get something to drink. Alcoholic, non-alcoholic. We going to have some food. Just bring yourself. Because I don't know. That's just how I grew up. My mother, when I was younger, my family, it was like, if you brought people over your house and you host people, you better have something for them to eat. Don't have nobody in your house and you got nothing for them to eat. You tell somebody to come over your house, it's 7 o'clock at night, whatever, you better have something for them to eat or drink. That's just how I grew up. Just having people over and being like, oh, I don't have anything to eat. That's one thing if you got some, I don't know. That's just how I was raised. You hosting people and you telling people to bring food? Like a potluck? Listen, I'm not judging. I'm just saying it's just the way I was raised. It was like, what? You can't listen. Every party I've had, people were shocked. They say, you need something to bring? And I'd be like, not really. If you want to bring something, you can. But let me be clear. If I invite you over my house or I invite you over to something I'm throwing, I am going to feed you and I'm going to drink you. I'm not drink you, but I am going to make sure you drink and eat. I'm going to make sure you're good. I'm not going to just leave you figuring it out. And there's some people out here that be loving to bring people over their cribs and their houses and their stuff, and they ain't got nothing for them. That is terrible. Or telling people to bring things. And it's like, well, if goddamn it, you just hosting it? What are you doing? It's just not the way I was raised. And so I thought this was just common knowledge. I have learned that common sense or common ways is not common by all folk. And in some cases, you just might want to have a little get together with a couple of your friends, whatever. But I have just always been that person. I just am like, if you coming over, I have things to do. I have things to eat. It's just what I do. But when I saw this flyer, y'all, and I saw this particular group, and y'all, for those who know, it's that group they who not need to be named, because I don't, But when I saw that, I said, see, now y'all could have just got y'all shit together and just came back home. You want to create a little separate group, and y'all, it's been a year and y'all still don't got no money. Y'all still out here trying to make this pop. It's cute. I get it. They want to have their little ARP group. It's just sad to watch. And the Libra in me, even though I should be somewhere laughing at them and just having joy, I don't take joy in people's pain most of the time. But like, it just frustrates me sometimes. Not in a very like, oh my goodness, I'm stressed out about it, but just kind of like in a, damn, that's unfortunate. That's my energy. It's like, that's unfortunate. Versus being like, that's what they get. Not when it's our people. Emphasis on our people. It's just be like, that's just so unfortunate. So this particular group had a little get together at Bacon. And it was just, the pictures be coming your timeline. You be seeing this stuff. You don't be trying to look like, I don't be snooping. What happens is the shit just be on my timeline, my news feed. And I'm like, oh, child, little engine that could. That's unfortunate. And you just see people's pride getting their way. because the day before there was a party at City Winery, the PABJ holiday party, baby. It was lit. It was the best holiday party, if I do say so myself, that I've been to so far. Now I have a couple I'm going to this week that I'm looking forward to, and then I'm tapping out on holiday parties. Like, listen, I need to look. I'm trying to maintain what I have gained. You understand what I'm saying? Um, but also sometimes the holiday parties get a little redundant with the food. But nonetheless, um, the PABJ holiday party was a smash hit. I was telling you all about it last week. We had at City Winery, and in spite of the fact that there was rain, we had over 50-something people come out. Um, it was lovely. I mean, all of my good people came out. Both, look, Kelly, my good Judy Kelly Mirabot, Chris Bartlett, my girl Candace came through. All of my PABJ folks, my frat brothers came. A couple of them showed up and showed out. Some of them had a good time, a little too much of a good time. Listen, I realized being in a fraternity that you will have that one brother that will come and he will just find himself he'll find himself some situation, some business. Sometimes when I mix some of my different groups together, different parts of my friendship circles, my networks, I'm always thinking to myself, let me one at a time. Sometimes I'm worried, like, will they mesh? Will people mesh? Will people talk to each other? And they just do, because I have good, I have a good circle of people that, of course, they're all going to be able to find ways to have conversation and not be isolated. And so by nature, sometimes when I have these events and I bring everyone together, there's people who've never met each other. And there's some interesting connections that find themselves happening. And it's sometimes I'm like, oh, goodness, I don't want them to date, because if they date, what if they don't like each other? And then I have to be Malcolm in the middle. Say, I ain't going to get in the middle. Y'all adults. Y'all better figure it out. But I just sometimes get a little cautious about it. But let's just say one of my line brothers was there, and he met a certain young lady that was there, and they was just really connecting at the holiday party. And I was like, But I'm not going to get descriptive. Those who was at the party, y'all know what I'm talking about. Y'all can just text me, and we can just tease about it together. But I will not name names on this podcast. Thou shall not, do any of that. All I will say is that they were both single. Well, he is definitely single. She, I don't know. But they were both consenting adults, and they were enjoying themselves at a holiday party, and there's no shame in that. And I'm going to mind my business for now. But but it was a very great merry time. The open bar was open barring. The food was on point. We had desserts. Everyone just had a really good time, and I was just happy to do it, because it was also our PABJ elections. So we had a nice election situation that was fabulous. And I really, really enjoyed the results. So, of course, as you all know, I got reelected. Duh. No, I'm joking. The board got reelected. It's all of us. We are now going into a third term. The majority of the board, we have 2 new board members, vice president of broadcast, vice president of print. The members voted. The votes were in. And we are, we're going into, a new term. And so I am proud to announce that I am entering my third term as the president of the Philadelphia Association of Black Journalists, which I don't take for granted. I really don't. I really love the work that we do at PABJ, and the work we're going to continue to do. And it's funny because I say it so confidently. I say it so matter of fact. But I think about where I was 8 years ago. This was no easy moment. I mean, where we are today, where we were 8 years ago, are 2 different places. And you all have listened to these episodes of this podcast and my journeys in navigating all this stuff. But 2016, I will never forget. I lost vice president about 2 years, and after that, here we are. But that's important, right? That in those losses and in those moments that you think are setbacks, they're setting you up for something greater. It was not my time, even though it really was but it wasn't my time on the clock, the clock of life. There need to be other things that need to happen and transpire so that the next time I came back, which I did in 2018, there was no question. See, sometimes when you go for something, there's still questions that are unanswered. And when there's a level of uncertainty and there's a level of reservations and all of that, or division, right? It can oftentimes create more tension in a role that you don't really want. You want to, for me, I like to enter roles most of the time with ease, with a level of everybody's on the same board. Now, sometimes that can't happen. But if you can choose to enter a situation, a position, a role, an opportunity where, people can connect, can appreciate and respect what you're doing, and there's no division, there's no whatever, that's the easiest way to go. To enter a race where I lost by 2 votes didn't even feel bad, because what that meant was my people did come out and support me. But what it also meant was that half of that room was undecided, or half of that room was divided. And my predecessor who was in that role, they didn't have a good time, because my supporters was like, fuck it, we ain't showing up, because they felt like I was robbed. But I was not. Look, I'm not no Trump. I ain't saying stop the steal. There were some backstabbers that fucked up that vote. I know who the 2 people are, and to this day, I don't fuck with them. I'm a little petty. Not petty. Nah, that ain't petty. I'm staying on business. They was fucked up. But outside of that, 2 years later, you go to 2018, that entire leadership team steps down. That entire leadership team does not run for re-election. That entire leadership team they just put their hands up. And then my team comes on board, and we just take these seats uncontested. Nobody wanted the juice. Nobody wanted that smoke. They was like, we need something different. We need a change. And every election since then, that was 2018, I was vice president. 2020, I was president. 2022, president. 2024, got reelected president. Every election since then, uncontested. As long as I wanted to be in the seat, as long as I had a vision and a plan, and I kept all of my goals intact, nobody wanted to challenge that. And sometimes people say, well, what about democracy? Let me be very clear. I have no problem running against anybody. I've always, I'm so used to being in contested races, honestly. I've always been the person to challenge people for seats and go against folks and run if I had believed in something. I'm not against being challenged for anything. But people also know if you're gonna step to somebody, you better have a real plan. And I will say that I've been fortunate enough to be in an organization where people recognize they don't have that plan as good as me. And that's not because I'm trying to, I ain't trying to, flex, but it's just like when you have a vision and you have a plan that is working and people are benefiting, experiencing that vision, and people are working together and we're producing results, do you really want to disrupt what's working? I mean, sometimes you just got to take a step back and say, well, because then what happens is, if the question becomes you do want to disrupt, are you disrupting for the greater good of the group? Or are you disrupting for your own personal self-interest? And people will vote against whatever that is. People will say, yeah, this person, they're not doing this because they really have an idea. They just want a title. They just want something. Again, fortunately in my organization, that wasn't the case. And the types of people that wanted to challenge the organization, they created another one that is flopping as we speak. So it's just been beautiful to be able to enter a third term as president. I've been on the board consecutively now. It's been, like total years, 2018, since I got elected in 2018. Oh my goodness, it's been 6 years on the board. I've been president for getting close to about to be 5 years. So it's been a period. It's been a period. So looking forward to all the new things we have coming up for the board. We got some ideas, some plans in place around programming, some stuff we've never done before. But now we're in a space, we have some connections, some new partnerships and relationships that we're doing. And a lot of those events will be citywide and open to people like you to attend and show up to. So stay tuned on that. There's been a lot of birthdays, December birthdays, which I've been excited about. Um, Lots of Sagittariuses in my life. Lauren had her birthday this week. Nina, my homegirl Cindy from Houston, they had lovely birthdays. Lauren lives in Philly, so um, we did some things for her birthday. She had a nice house party. Now, she had a house party. Listen, okay. I asked her, did she want me to bring something? She said no, she was not lying. Now, that woman can throw a party. She had a nice holiday birthday. It was a holiday themed birthday party. It was at her place. And it was fabulous. It was, oh my goodness. They had all kind of food. It was a party. The next day, when my birthday gift for her is that we went to Mural City Cellars, which is in Fishtown. They have like a winery there at that location in Fishtown. They have like different wines and things, and we did like a wine tasting class or whatnot. It was very nice, and she loves wine. She's like a wine girl. I love wine too, but I only like red wine. I don't like white wine. Some people that listen to this podcast is going to judge me for that, but it's okay. It's one person in particular. She knows who she is, but she can drink that white wine. I'm not crazy about it. When they brought the white wines at the glass, I stopped the instructor. I said, how many white wine glasses are we going to drink in this course? He says, oh, this is only one. I said, okay, good. Because I wasn't going to waste his time. Now, the white he had, it was cool. It wasn't bad. It's just like, I'm not buying white wine. I just do not like white wine. It's just not in me. But red wine, baby, pour me a second, third glass. I don't care. I mean, I do have my favorites. Like, I love Pinot Noir. Merlot is okay. I love Syrah with a good lamb. Oof, what a combo. I even like Petite Syrah. Ooh, that's the one I really like out of my Syrahs. I do like some really good high-end red blends. I used to not like red blends. I used to always raise my nose. But if you get me a good quality one, we do like a red blend of quality. Don't give me one of these and let me be clear about that. Like, okay, no yellowtail, sweet red. Listen, I come a long way. Dr. Parks know what I'm talking about. I've come a long way. I don't like rosé as much. I cannot get into rosé unless it is like the Moet sparkling rosé, because that particular one, it got a sweetness to it that I really like. But outside of that, I don't really like anybody's like rosés. I'm not a rosé person. I just don't get it. I get it's cute. Like, I like rosé flavored like things, but the smell of it is good. But like the taste, too tart for me. I'm not crazy about it. I just want a good red wine. I like to decant it. I like to aerate it. I just like to have it paired with a good, and you could drink red wine with anything. I know people try to act like white wine can only be had with fish. Listen, you can do red wine with seafood. There are certain red wines that are low bodies, that are light bodied, that pairs well with seafood. I have done a lot of research. Red wine is the one universal wine that you can drink with everything. Chocolate, sweets, desserts. There's always a good pairing with a red wine. White wine, not the same case. You cannot have white wine with everything. If you have white wine with a piece of steak, that's a joke. But you can have red wine. There is a particular types of red wines that you can have with different things. But let me not be that connoisseur today on this podcast. But I just wanted to put that out there, because certain folks act like, white wine, there are red wines that pair well with seafood. Trust me, I know. My house has enough red wine to go around, okay? But I just wanted to put that out there. But moving along to this week's Hot Topics. Trump. Trump is Time's Person of the Year. A lot of people have been going nuts about this. I do not know why. Because I realize media literacy is just not happening anymore. People are like really going ham about, why is he Person of the Year? This is crazy. Look at the media cuddling up to him. Listen, now there have been times where the media has cuddled up to Trump, but I have to explain to y'all how Time's Person of the Year works. Traditionally, whoever wins the presidency is Time's Person of the Year. Not month. Did I say month? Time's Person of the Year. That is traditionally this is what it is. Trump won in 2016. He was Times Person of the Year in 2016 for the first time. He got reelected, so he became it in 2024. And to be clear, Person of the Year does not mean you're the best person. It doesn't mean that you are the smartest, kindest, humanitarian. It simply means that you are a figure of consequence. You are a consequential figure. You are somebody that is pivotal. You are somebody that, for good or for bad, matters. You know, when I think of Elon Musk, when I think of Hitler, when I think of certain people who've previously won this title, some of those people were not people like MLK, right? Some of those people were not people like, you know, Taylor Swift, who won last year. Some of these people, for various reasons, represent important issues and ideas. And for Trump to have won, to be the first president since Grover Cleveland to win the presidency in non-consecutive cycles in our modern history is a pretty big damn deal. And whether or not I or you listen to this podcast like Trump, he did it in a way that was very major. He won all 7 battleground states. He took back the White House. The Supreme Court is conservative. He's got the Senate and he's got the House. He did it. And he is the most popularly elected Republican candidate in history. He has more people voted for Trump than they voted for Ronald Reagan and Richard Nixon. He is the most popular Republican president according to actual electoral votes. So, you know, look, you cannot like somebody, but you got to give them their gots. There are a lot of people out here who don't like me, but they don't even giving me my gots. I'd be like, listen, you don't got to like me, but get your stats right. That's the one thing I don't like. See, that's what haters be doing. Like, you don't have to like a person, but you got to at least acknowledge the facts. I don't like Donald Trump. And some of y'all might be listening to this and thinking, no, I'm not going up for him. I'm just stating the facts. See, if you want to defeat the enemy, you got to know how the enemy play. If you want somebody, if the Democrats really want to strategize to get past Trumpism, they got to understand what he's done well. Now, some people do too much. Because some of y'all have given him a little bit too much sauce. I haven't done that. I just state the facts. Trump ain't that strategic in how he won. It ain't much strategy there. How did he win? He won because he leaned on racism and bigotry and the fact that this was a black woman. He leaned a lot on that. He leaned a lot on just misinformation, but that's not strategy to me. But at the end of the day, what I think, you know what I think it is? And I'll keep it 100. I think it wasn't so much that he was a good candidate. It's just that the Democrats, how they ran, and I'm not talking specifically about Kamala. I think across the board, how the Democrats ran and the missed opportunities that they did not take advantage of, they just did not fully trust themselves, listen to the right people, and do what they need to do to win, and that's why they lost. I don't think Trump did something that was just superbly well. I just think that he just leaned on what he always do, and rather than them create ways to combat that, they just let this man go full carte blanche on the same shit he's been doing, and that's why he won again. They was playing the same goddamn playbook that they played in 2016, and that is why he won. So it's, to me, this win is not a reflection of how, in my opinion, influential he is. It's more of a reflection on how bad the Democrats sucked on strategy because they just really lack strategy. That's what I think it means. But nonetheless, he still won. And so for that alone, this man has survived fate. I mean, fate in the reality is that it's almost like it's fate that he won to a certain extent. I mean, there was 2 assassination attempts, and this man still bounced back. There was just so much. I mean, this man was criminally convicted. I mean, he's just defying gravity, and no one's gonna hold him down for now. So you see what I did there? But yeah, I'm not shocked about it. Now one thing that's been interesting is that a lot of people have been talking about his entire he's starting to scale back on them grocery promises. Let's just stop right here. People talking about they didn't vote for him. I mean, they voted for him because groceries is going up. Now he talking about he don't know what to do with them prices. I mean, of course. He's still trying to get serious about the tariffs. He is not let go of the tariffs conversation, which means shit is about to get high as hell. His appointments are his appointments. They're trash. He still has not had a plan on what he's going to do around Obamacare, which is good because pretty much Obamacare is going to stay because that's the one thing Obama did, man. I'll give him that. I mean, he's done a lot of things. I mean, gay marriage, one of them. But the one thing Obama definitely did that I'm going to that Obamacare is a hit that stick like grits. And for Trump folks, the Affordable Health Care Act, okay? So those are the same things. So when your Republican friends say they're going to kill Obamacare, and you tell them don't take the kill Obamacare, but protect the Affordability Act or whatever, the healthcare for whatever they call it, you want to keep that. Understand the difference. The AHC is the same thing as Obamacare, and I want to say that I don't think people are that dumb to not know that, but I've realized that there are people who really don't know that. But see, there's a part of me, and I'm going to be a little bit politically incorrect for a couple of seconds, but this has got to be said. We got to get to a point where we got to tell dumb people not to talk, not to be involved in certain types of activities that's going to actually harm them. We got to tell our cousins and our uncles that we're on the wrong side of history in this election. You know what? Maybe it's all right for you not to be so quick to take your ass to the polls if you're not fully informed. Look, maybe it's not in your best interest to do harm to yourself. Actually, maybe you need to think before you click. Because I think it's just time for us to take some things away from some people. I'm not talking about rights away from people. I'm just saying, if you got, look, I look at it this way. This is the best way I look at it. You see somebody drunk and they're like, oh, I just have to drive up the block. No. You give me your keys. Fortunately, I have not had to do that in God knows how long. I think the last time I had to do something like that was 10 years ago. It was a summer after I had graduated from Penn. And there was someone I knew who was definitely drunk. And they were just like, oh, I'm just driving up the street. No. Nope. We'll walk. You're not driving. I'm not friends with this person anymore. But at the time, and it wasn't about this, but that should have been the sign. That should have been the first sign. But I was like, no. Because even just a couple of blocks, that's just too risky for me. And so you just got to sometimes take the keys. And that's what I mean when it comes to some people in our lives. Sometimes you're going to have to take the keys from some people because you don't know what you're doing. And you're not about to get me hit and you're not about to get yourself hit. We're not about to get hit together. And I think in this election, we didn't take the keys away from some people. We just didn't tell some people, you know what you're doing. And as much as we like to tell people they're going to fuck around and find out, yeah, they're going to fuck around and find out, but the rest of the country is too. Even people that's not us. And I think that's what some of these progressives and other folks that, even though they weren't the real group that, to be clear, it wasn't progressives that they were the reason why Harris lost. I mean, in certain areas it didn't help, let's be clear, but they weren't necessarily the reason. I just think that in this country, people don't know how to properly attribute blame. That is the error in this country. People do not know how to properly attribute blame. So things are happening and people are frustrated, but they don't really know who to direct that frustration to. And that's how we end up in these situations. Food for thought. So let's talk about this UnitedHealthcare CEO killing. They did find the guy. There's been a lot said about Luigi Mangione. I don't even know how to pronounce his last name. Um, he did go to Penn. No, I did not know him personally. Yes, I know people who was in the fraternity he was in. Yes, they gave me some tea. No, I'm not pouring all that tea on this podcast episode, but the tea is the tea. Um, he comes from a background of money. Um, he was going through some different healthcare problems of his own. There's speculation about a manifesto. I haven't read it. I think there's been various versions circulating. I just don't really care about all of that too much. What do I have to say about all this? What do I have to offer to this conversation with this guy? Because, everybody's been fetishizing him. They say he cute. He ain't ugly, but I don't see it. I don't see it like that. People like to buy, look, I mean, I just realized that America is horny as hell. People just be going up for anything. It's be times where I'm just like, y'all, there's people be like, oh, this person look good. And I'm like, is it just the body? He's fit. But I just don't be seeing it. Like the stuff y'all go up for, and it's not because he's white. That's not the reason why I don't think he's attractive, because he's white. There y'all go. Y'all, I know what y'all about to say. Well, y'all know listen. Yes, I am black, and I have dated black men most of my life, but so has some of you all too, including my white listeners. Let me stop. But let me just say, it's not even about that. He's 26. I don't know. I'm not looking at him like that. I just don't see him that way. And it's not because, oh, you're married, so of course you don't see him that way. It's not that either. Like, I'm not blind. I know when someone's not attractive, when someone is. I think we also have to be off of that. You can think someone's attractive without wanting to fuck them. Let me just put that out there too. You could be able to look at a flower and say a flower look good without want to pick it. Listen, I'm gay, but I know an attractive woman when I see one. I know women, I'm like, oh, she's fine. She look good. Does that mean I want to have sex with her? Absolutely not. But I know a good looking woman when I see one, okay? But that being said, I'm looking and I'm just like, I don't see it. But I guess compared to a lot of the types of white men that have been out here, and let me stop real quick because some of y'all done showed y'all ass, and let me be clear about this, and this is not for my black listeners. But there's been some white folks who have commented under some posts that I've written about this where I've called him white, and they have said, he's not white, he's Italian. Listen, y'all not going to keep playing with me. Don't play with me. Don't play with me. And I'm going to have to, and I say this like this. He is Italian, but he's also white. Stop playing with me and stop playing with yourself, because this conversation comes up every blue moon where there is every time white people, white people, when there is moments where people want to, other themselves, they like to lean into these identities that they think will then stop them from having to shield any type of responsibility. We're not doing that. We're not doing that over here. That is a white man. Let me explain something to y'all how this works. Race, nationality, and ethnicity are three separate things. Sometimes they connect and sometimes they don't. For example, I'm an American. That's my nationality. I am black. That's my race. Here's the thing, okay? Charlize Theron, she's South African. Charlize Theron is also white. Now, you're like, what, huh? Because nationalities do not necessarily speak to someone's race. That's your problem. You think Africans equal black. You think African American equals black. That is not the case. That's a nationality. So Charlize Theron lives in America, or at some point she did. She'd be technically African American. See, this is why I say black and I don't say African American often. Because if you say African American, technically, you're not speaking to an ethnicity per se. You're speaking to a nationality. And I don't play these nationality games. Now, I will say I'm a black American because in diaspora conversation, different ethnicities across the diaspora suggest different cultural experiences. So to be a Black American, there's a different experience that I'm having culturally than, let's say, Nigerians in Africa who might share my same race. I thought we had this conversation in 2020. I already thought this was already a discussion we already knew. So let's come back to this conversation. Luigi was born in America. He is an Italian American. His ancestry, his folks are from Italy. But this man lives an American life. This man is white racially, and he benefits from white privilege. There were people trying to tell me not to call this man white. I said, I'm sorry. They said, well, there are some Italians, Ernest, who don't consider themselves white because of yada, yada, yada. I said, I don't care how they decide to determine themselves. Look, I may not necessarily want to call I don't have a problem with this, but let's just say, I may not want to call myself an American. There are some people that use the word Pan-African. But damn it, I was born in the United States of America. My ancestry came here not by choice, but by force. Okay? And that's just what it is. I'm American. I'm a U.S. citizen. I was born here, and my ancestry came from the motherland, which is, we consider Africa, the continent, and then came to America, not by choice. Let's be clear. But look, I'm an American, and that's just what it is. Do I have African heritage in me and ancestry? Absolutely. But I'm an American. And so there are some folks that like to does not use the American title. There are some Black people that say they're Pan-African. They don't connect themselves to America at all. Okay? Fine. They don't want to use it. But you was born in Philadelphia, Dr. Umar Johnson. You are a Philadelphian. Okay? You may not want to use that title, but you are. So just because you choose as an Italian that is white, because there are Black Italians, and I was like, well, let me be clear. Is he Black? Do I know something that y'all don't know? Is there some Italian chocolate over there? Oh, no, he's just... Stop it. Stop it. He is white. And it's okay. It's okay to be white as long as you're a white supremacist. I mean, what's wrong with being white? As long as you recognize that you're white and you have white privilege and that you need to do work, it's okay. Like, no one's saying it's bad to be a white person. But don't be lying. See, what's the problem is if you're a white person and you're lying. Just like if you're a Black person and you're lying. Like, no one likes liars. But my whole thing is that in these type of situations, I have found that white people from different cultural backgrounds and whatnot will try to, when there are crimes and situations or conversations, they will like to other themselves. I can't tell you how many times I've been in LGBTQ circles as a Black queer person, and there'll be white people that will specifically try to not even discuss race and talk about everything else connected to their identity. And I'm like, all of that is true. You can be disabled. You can be gender non-binary. You can be all of the things. But you're still white. And there are certain experiences and circumstances in this country that you benefit from as a white person. White queer people benefit from privilege. White disabled people benefit from privilege. It is not a debate. It is just not a debate. And so let me explain this just in case we forgot. Luigi is a white man, a white Italian American that benefits from privilege. The privilege of being able to be looked at as a sex symbol for killing a rich white man. If a Black man killed a rich white man, he would never have the fandom. How do I know? How many Black men have killed people over the years? And what are the first things that y'all do? Y'all, as in America, whether they Black or white, what y'all do? You begin to question the community. Has anyone questioned the Italian community? Because since some Italians want to act like they're somehow a minority all of a sudden, has anybody wrote an article, has written the article that said, how is this going to reflect on Italian Americans? I'm waiting. Has the Italian community been hit? Has anybody, protested Italian restaurants? Has anybody put graffiti on Italian restaurants? Have anybody said we're not going to support Italian-owned businesses? Did anybody do that? Did anybody question the community? Are they under attack because of this? I just want to know. Okay. Okay. All right. Oh, okay. Because that wouldn't be racism because they're not a race. They're okay. Oh, all right. I just was just checking. No? Okay. Because I haven't heard nobody say anything about the Italian community. Like, I haven't read any articles that said, oh my goodness, the harm. Italians are going to be under persecution because of this. No, but when a black person commits a crime or are being alleged of committing a crime, because let's be clear, Luigi is innocent until proven guilty. The man has not confessed to doing anything. He has to wait his trial. But as the white man that he is, he will get a fair and speedy trial. I doubt there'll be any major injustices in America because of Luigi. So then this makes me think of another community, but we'll get to this in a minute. I just don't know any black man who's committed any crime that was considered a sex symbol amongst white people and black people. Now, some folks will say, oh, well, maybe because he's black, people don't. Oh, don't do that. There are a lot of attractive black men that have been fond and desired by white people and black people alike. And if any of them committed some crimes or something, come on now, don't do it. But in modern history, when have we seen this level of universal adoration for a black criminal? I'll wait. And before you say O.J. Simpson, don't kid yourself. That was the most racially polarizing trial of our generation. But I've never seen anybody fawn. If this man was black, if Luigi was a 26-year-old black man that was attractive, I guess, to the masses, if he looked like Michael B. Jordan, the instant the obsession with framing him as a madman, demonizing this man, there wouldn't be TikToks thirsting after him. No. We know this. We all know this. We've seen it before. We know what this is. There has been black men accused of killing police officers or doing things. This man is being accused of doing a very heinous crime, and yet people are projecting all. And you know what's so interesting is that there's people that are saying, oh, well, they're in solidarity, making it a class conversation around healthcare in America. That is great. But let me tell y'all something. There are black people who have literally committed crimes in the name of some level of social justice. Crimes that may not have involved killing people. Did we not forget the racial uprisings in 2020 when some of the same white people were like, I understand why they're mad, but damaging property doesn't do anything about it. Well, I'm going to be a Becky real quick and do mine. Guys, I understand that the healthcare crisis is a mess, but killing the CEO isn't going to necessarily solve it. It actually might make it worse because maybe these companies will actually retaliate against their people. I don't necessarily know if this is effective. What would MLK do? You ain't saying that about Luigi, though. Nobody's sitting back and saying, oh, well, Luigi, that ain't the answer. Oh, no. No. All of a sudden, the MLK quotient went out the window. Have y'all noticed that? Nobody ain't talking about no peace and all that. Non-violence, huh? It's only used. It's funny how only MLK's words are weaponized against other black people to stop them from civil disobedience. But all of a sudden, when white people do it, it becomes a revolution. It becomes a moment. It becomes everybody put their power fist up and stick it to the man. It's okay for Antifa to break shit. It's okay for all these white people to go around here being, anonymous and shit, right? Oh, it's okay for that. It's okay for, Occupy Wall Street, right? All of a sudden, the anarchist movement by white folks is somehow the real fight against capitalism in society. But black folks been doing that shit for decades. And when we was doing it, oh, it was to be scared. Oh, it's a riot. How you think they learn how to do what we do? Oh, I'm supposed to believe that Luigi just woke up a revolutionary. That there wasn't already black people questioning the system in corporate America and this whole situation. Oh, okay. But this is, look, I'm in the mindset that whatever it takes, there's people who've asked the question to me, do you think that even though people are rallying for Luigi, that this will create opportunity to have a conversation now that white people are on board? No. The reason why I say the answer is no is because as long as there is a racial bias in how we unify behind taking a stand against issues, then we'll never be free. Because the truth of the matter is that if these same white people cannot go up for Black Lives Matter protesters or folks that have stood up against corruption and have taken those types of steps in other ways and forms, if you are not going to do it across the board and you cherry pick who you go up for based on how attractive they are, how whatever they are, how rich they are, whatever, then I don't trust you. I don't trust your intentions. I don't trust your sincerity because you're biased. The colorism, the racism, it's showing. So to see all these white people on my timeline, the same white people that were saying, "Oh my goodness, I understand the issue, but I don't necessarily know what we're accomplishing. We're destroying property." What? What? Huh? To be clear, the idea of caring about property more than dead lives, innocent dead lives being killed, you care about property more than that. But I'm supposed to believe that all of a sudden you woke up and cared about health care access for millions of Americans when the CEO died? And here's the consequences around that, because it happened in New York City, is that what I know to be true is that a lot of policing there's going to be more police, more surveillance in Black and brown communities. This is going to in many ways backfire on marginalized folks than anything else. They're not about to go, over surveil educated white men. They're not going to do that. They're fine. They're not about to be like, okay, we see a educated white man. Because let me tell you what white privilege tells us is that the mindset of them is they're more fascinated with why would a rich white boy like Luigi do it compared to someone who is, the lone wolf, a Black person. That's why people are fascinated with it. Because what they're saying the silent part out loud. They're saying, what would be his reason? Because he's already privileged. So tell me how him being Italian makes him a minority in this situation. Oh, okay. Okay. Because we're just not gonna do that today. We at this point, I'm no holds barred. Don't come to me with no bullshit. We're not doing any of that today. We're not doing that yesterday. We're not doing that tomorrow. We're not doing that next week and next year, next decade. We're just not doing that anymore. I'm not going to entertain this shit. Shit gets shut down at this point over here. Because we done seen this record play. And I'm tired of people acting surprised. I'm tired of people acting like they don't know what's happening. Stop it. Two things can be true at the same time. Luigi may have, allegedly, committed an act of crime that was meant to rebel against the healthcare system. But Luigi is also a white man who's not going to have to deal, his community, people that look like him, will not have to face the same backfire, the same heat and consequences that other people will. And so, the only community that I can think of outside of, Latino immigrants, Black and brown people, but Muslims. They're the only community that if one individual in their community do something, there is a very nasty attack on their community as a whole in this country. That is an example of, that's not necessarily nationality because they're not all from the same country area. That's a role around ethnicity because it's not race, it's ethnicity. And that's why I tell people nationality, race, and ethnicity means different things. If Luigi was Muslim and he would have done this. He would have been called a terrorist immediately, and the conversation would have been trying to ask questions about different terrorist groups. It would have been a lot of assertions on his motives beyond him just simply being Muslim. But the Islamophobia would have kicked in instantly. I don't know if there's Italian phobia. I never heard of it. And let me be clear, I know my history. I know that there was, over a half a century ago, there was discrimination towards Italians and Irish people and folks based on certain, anti-immigrant sentiment. But what happened, y'all? We're going to read the book, The Warmth of Other Suns, and we're going to read other books. We're going to recast. Isabel told us about this. Wilkerson. She told us about this. We don't know what happened over nearly over a half a century ago. We don't know what happened, y'all. Oh, okay. Because what happened with certain immigrant populations in this country is that their nationality defined their identity for a period of time, but to assimilate into American society, white, mainstream, dominant race society, they shred away a lot of those identities to become a white American. They still had the heritage, but they assimilated. Lady Gaga is a perfect example. She's Lady Gaga, or she's Stefani Germanta, whatever she wants to call herself on any day. Ariana Grande or Grandi, right? She's Italian. Now she wants to put in her middle name or whatever. She wants to use two last names because it's cute for her too. But that Grande was playing into a different type of ethnicity that was not necessarily identifying Italian, because she knows that if she would have used Grandi, right, or she would have used the middle name, that now in her coming back to her whiteness, she is also coming into her Italian identity, her Italian American identity. You see what I'm going here with this? Lady Gaga likes to talk about her family being Italian immigrants, but she leans on it in certain conversations around trying to identify as a marginalized identity. Like the way that she likes to oftentimes note that she's queer, even though that's another conversation for another day. But there are picking the privilege to pick and choose when to opt in and opt out of particular identities to try to find fake solidarity is privilege. It's white privilege. No other group can do that. I cannot, as a black person, opt out when I want to talk about my African roots. That I have a good chunk of my origins is in Ghana. West Africa is a lot of black people, black Americans. A lot of their ancestry comes from countries in West Africa. Based on my ancestry roots, a lot of my ancestry roots is in Ghana, which a lot of people are either Ghana, Ghana, Nigeria. A lot of black Americans, their roots come from there. So a lot of my ancestry is Ghanaian. I'm not walking around here. I don't have to. When I walk in a room and people see my skin color and they look at me, they don't need to ask me anything about that. I don't need to be like, I can't opt out and say, yeah, today is the day I'm going to name African roots. No, people look at me. We know. We already know. We already know slavery done ran through your bloodline. Lady Gaga can choose when she wants to speak on those things. People will say, well, what about her name? She can switch the name up whenever she wants to. Just like Ariana Grande was Ariana Grande. She can switch it up when she wants to. There's privilege in that. Luigi can say he's Italian, and Luigi can just say he's white, and race and nationality and all those things allows him to still have the white privilege to be able to choose when he wants to be whatever he wants to be in any setting. That's not the same reality for Muslims. It's not the same reality for black people and brown people and, other folks. It's not the same. And that's not to say that people cannot have, there's no Olympics on oppression, but what needs to be clear is just acknowledge two things can be true at the same time. That somebody can fight for a cause, allegedly, but also at the same time have privilege in how they're going about it. You know what's interesting? They didn't kill him. They shouldn't have killed him. But again, you're on the loose for a crime like this. If he was black, they would have, I think if they would have found him, there could have been some justification to kill him on sight. He wouldn't even have had a trial. And nobody would have flinched. They would have said, oh, they got the suspect and it was a shoot off, and they would have killed him. But because that man comes, that boy comes from money, and because of the fact that he is white, somehow they never kill, there's never any problems getting these white alleged criminals captive. I mean, the man who assassinated Trump clearly was out there popping off to the point where they had to kill him. Wonder why? I don't know. But in most cases, these assassins, which we got to stop. Well, I'm not using the word assassinate. This man is not a political figure. The CEO of UnitedHealthcare is not assassinate. He's not, like, we need to chill out with these words. This man is not somebody that we knew. He was not a political figure. Like, let's chill out with that. He was not assassinated. He was murdered, but he was not assassinated. I just know as people like to use that word around. I'm like, that's not the appropriate word. We put him in the same vein as JFK, MLK, like that. Like political public figures that, are assassinated, not people like a CEO of a company. Like, come on. So, I think that's a stretch, in my opinion. But moving along. AI progress is slowing down. I don't know if y'all been hearing about this, but there's been talks that AI is slowing down the progress on. Now, AI is still existing. So ChatGPT, OpenAI, all that stuff is still happening. But the idea of just having these massive, how I describe it, these massive contracts where you see people that are like, updating and upgrading. The upgrading of this technology is not happening as fast as people thought it would be. So, I always tell people that every time I think about like AI, people used to scare the hell out of everybody. Like, oh, AI is coming. You got to watch out. And it is coming. Let's be clear. It is coming. There is major, massive things happening that is taking place and shaping up stuff. Like, it is impacting lives. People, are going through it, but, it is important to note that the progress is not taking off in the way that people imagine it can happen. And I think that's the problem. I think that's the problem that is taking way. So some of the information that I want to provide clarity on is that I was looking at some reports that was talking about OpenAI specifically and ChatGPT. They've been doing some updates like every couple of months, and there has been no changes, any major changes in the updates of these technologies and softwares. About a year ago, there were these massive projections that by now AI was going to move not only from artificial intelligence, but some level of operational intelligence where there was going to be a rapid speed replacing certain jobs at a rate. And what's being found out is that there's just not enough money and not enough research, and there's just not enough data that's speeding up this type of pace. And Silicon Valley and stock folks are getting a little shook. They're like, wait a minute, what's going on? Like, what's causing this? What's happening? Why is this going on? Why is this happening to people? I just don't, they're like, what's happening? Because they was expecting this. There was lots of projection. A lot of people was investing in stock. But the technology and the pace to which they're finding this information, it's not happening fast enough. It's just not happening fast enough. That's just the answer that a lot of these people are saying. Now, let's be clear. That doesn't mean that it's over. No, AI is still happening, right? People are still working on it. But the way in which people just thought there was going to be this really ginormic boom, that's not happening as fast yet. That doesn't mean everyone needs to just be like, okay, that means, I still got a job. That doesn't mean that either. But what it do mean is that there is a very, there's a very glacial, the pace to which people were expecting some of this rapid change, it's going to take a little bit more time than people probably expected. The technology is not speeding up and upgrading as much as people think it is or should. And also, I do think that some people are saying, has it reached its peak? But I often feel like with technology in general, is that every time we think something is going to be the thing, it never is. And the thing that is the thing that is something we don't expect. And so because there has been an oversaturation around AI, that everybody just jumped on it too fast, I feel like by nature, we done got a little too ahead of ourselves in it. Now, I do appreciate people educating themselves. I've educated myself on it. I'm not crazy about AI. I understand it. I understand how it works. But I'm not, I feel like that's the same thing with Bitcoin. Like everybody's all hype on these Bitcoin shit. It's like some of this stuff, I feel like, look, 50 years from now, whatever, it might get there. We're getting a sneak peek of it right now. But I don't think that it is going to be as rapid as we do. I think sometimes when we try, it almost reminds me of like how people predicted the future. People thought that by now in 2020, whatever, there were going to be flying cars. Do y'all remember that? Like when people were like in 2000, everyone was like, oh my God, there's going to be flying cars. There's going to be all this other stuff. I mean, we still driving on the ground. Barely. We're just not there. And the reason why is because I think people forget this important fact. The important fact for me is that we still have humans. And maybe if we invested more money in education, science and technology, but also other education, right? We created a more equitable society where people can be able to live and eat and be able to prosper. Then if we had a more if we had a more equitable society across the world, I do think we would have had flying cars at this point, because there would have been more education, there would have been more resources, there would have been more investment in technology, there would have been more investment in human capital. Everybody would have been able to really thrive, and with great people thriving, people would have had great inventions. We've done okay, but I do think to a certain extent that when a society continues to get poor, people greed, a lot of stuff won't advance. And so because our society is not as equitable as it should be, and there's a lot of people living in immense poverty, and there's been a lot of warfare and civil unrest, that has actually created a barrier for innovation in our society. I do believe that. I truly believe that the reason why a lot of stuff have not moved as fast as it should is because of all the other political bullshit that has served as a distraction to our everyday function. And so I do believe that is the real reason why stuff has not advanced as much as it has. Because you have workforces that are fighting for unionization. You got workforces that are literally getting laid off. You don't have enough money. There's been so much wealth in inequality and so much disgusting capitalism that, hell, how can you even convince people to build flying cars or do any of that kind of stuff when you can't even pay them a proper living? So as much as I hear people talking about AI technology advancing, do you have enough educated people that can build AI software? Do you have enough livable wage jobs that can sustain all of this shit? Oh, you didn't think about humanity. Oh, you forgot that as long as we live in a civilization with humans, then you can't be able to pull this shit off without us. And I do think, and I will say this, and this has been said in other places, but I'm going to say it here. This obsession with robots and labor that's not human labor comes from, I think, a colonialist mindset of an obsession with slavery. I'm sorry. I can't flesh this out right on this podcast. It will take me, this will be its own episode within itself if I did so. But I do believe that there is a linkage between the obsession with robots and AI and replacing people in this with an obsession of slavery. And that the new modern form of slavery is this reality of trying to create another alternate workforce where you can slave and control people. Because that's pretty much how robots work in AI software. You have somebody doing something for you, labor that you don't have to pay for. And so I do think a colonialist obsession with certain folks, specifically older white men in tech, with this idea around robots and all this shit, is a colonialist mindset when it comes to slavery. Okay, we cannot, there's only so much, we can do with humans at this point, with human rights and labor laws, like anti-union, right? That there is an obsession with replacing the new modern day slavery is going to come in the form of robots, if that's what they desire. But they need to have human slaves to be able to do that work. And no one is trying to be enslaved. And so when I hear that there's a damp in progress around AI, there's a part of me that thinks that this is all connected also to colonialism. That there is an obsession with trying to get labor in a way that does not require paid labor, does not require ethical labor, does not require human labor, in which you have to consider the humanity. Because if you have a robot or some technology, who cares about whatever their rights are? They don't have a heart. They can't walk. They can't move. Just me thinking out loud. Do as you will with that. There's people I know have talked about it in depth online, but I've been following some of it. And I do agree that I do think there's a connection with the mentality. Because I've just never been obsessed with that. Like, I don't like, what do I need a robot for? I mean, I know robots exist in other technologies, right? But like, I've never been hell-bent on replacing workforces with robots. I've never been fascinated with that. Why? Unless you have a plantation. You're a billionaire, multi-billionaire, where you have to consider profits and margins for yourself. Something to think about. So, moving along, the 76ers arena. I mean, at this point, what is there to say? I can sit here and pretend that I'm surprised, which would be a lie. I can sit here and pretend like I'm surprised. Or I can tell you all, we saw this coming. The hood already knew. The hood already knew. The whole hood knew. There are some people who made some decisions. And those decisions are going to follow them for the rest of their political career, whether they want to admit it or not. I've seen it. And what's so disappointing about this situation is that these are elected officials, y'all, that have made themselves look like they are, progressives, that they mean well. But I told y'all it was all a performance. So let me explain what I mean, because a lot of you have already followed this. Last week, I talked to you about the community benefits agreement and how they were trying to figure out, getting the money up and increasing the community benefits agreement. There was talks earlier this week that they were trying to get it to around $95 million to $100 million. That ain't shit, but you know what? Okay, it's something, right? Because the initial community benefits agreement was $50 million. Y'all, In my years of covering politics, I have never been this disgusted in a long time. In a long time. I've never been this disgusted in Philly politics. I knew I was going to be disgusted, but I know I was going to be this disgusted. And when I tell you all that it took everything in me, in my emotions, not to join this crew. I was hosting City Council Live on Thursday, and they were telling them, y'all are traitors. I wanted to so badly. You know, they called them sellouts. I wanted to call them sellouts in that crowd. The community benefits agreement that they landed on was $60 million. Yes, you heard that correctly. Not $60 million more. Just straight up $60 million. $60 million, y'all. $60 fucking million. $10 million more than the current agreement that was on the agreement they had. So y'all was only able to negotiate $10 million more than what the 76ers proposed. 17 members of city council. And that's the best y'all could do? 5 members of city council voted against it. One of them was not physically there because they was out of town, but she made it clear she was against it. That was Kendra Brooks. The other 4 that voted against it was Rue Landau, Jamie Gauthier, Nicholas O'Rourke, and Jay Young. That's 3 Democrats and 3 members of the Working Family Party that have said they're not for it. The other 12 voted for it. The biggest shocker to a lot of people was Isaiah Thomas. A lot of people thought that Isaiah Thomas was going to, vote a certain way. I have to say, and I'm going to be very honest here, I'm disappointed in him. I'm disappointed because I feel like he played in people's face. And I will tell that to his face. And he kind of knows how I feel about this. And look, 2 things can be true at the same time. That this is a man who's done some decent things and has done some good things politically. But this was just trash. Trash because for several months, I've seen this man move in ways that was a red flag. And he has consistently tried to pretend that he was going to consider different things, that he was undecided. He was lying. He was always for it. And it was shown in his various actions. And I'm not going to sit back and fake the funk. I'm not going to lie to the public. I'm not going to play stupid. This man has sat up and has acted like he was undecided. That was a lie. And I've been seeing his actions at city council every Thursday where he has skipped meetings, claimed that he had other business, just does not want to be in the room when things have gotten, intense because he's uncomfortable. A petulant child will be uncomfortable when they know they're doing something that they really don't want to do, knowing they're doing something that isn't necessarily in the best interest of the people. He will have to answer to the progressives. He has to answer to Reclaim. He's going to have to answer to all these different people that he has played both sides with. See, in politics, cowardice looks like somebody who can't stand on business and just simply admit what they do. They're scared to take tough decisions and let people know where they stand because they're afraid of the backlash. I'm sorry, nobody asked you to be a politician. You done sat up here and you done ran for city council so many goddamn terms and you done waited for this moment. You get up here and you want to play. Everybody kind of thinks that you are the council president's lapdog. I'm not going to mince my words because I'm not going to lie to you. Your little people that take your little pictures and smile in your face and shake your hand and all that shit, they fake. I'm not fake. I'm going to say it on the record. But people think that you're ambitious. They think he wants to run for mayor. They think that he's over here ass-kissing Kenyatta Johnson, who clearly threw his spine in a schuylkill when he became council president. But everybody knows you're playing games. And if this was never a showing of a sellout, I don't know what is. Because what you could have did is you could have did what Gautier did. You could have demanded more. You could have been very transparent about how this is not a good look. But you took your ass to those hearings. You put on a performance. You sat up. All of them did. Let's be clear, they all did. But see, there's a difference why I'm saying Isaiah compared to the rest of them people. Nina Ahmad, not a fan of that either, for various reasons. But I ain't got no problem with Jim Harity. I don't support Jim Harity's vote. But you know what? I knew where Jim Harity stood on it from day one. Jimmy was going to do what Jimmy was going to do. Ain't nobody surprised with him. Ain't nobody surprised about Kenyatta Johnson. We all know him and billionaires and developers are like peanut butter and jelly on white bread, child. We all know he about the money, baby, okay? We all know he don't give a fuck about everyday people. I'll just say it. That's my opinion. It is what it is. If you ask me to give examples, I will give examples. He is climbing up the political ladder. He is for himself. And he feels like he's unstoppable because he is the cat with the cream and he won't stop licking himself. And you know what? I blame city council because you guys elected this man. I believe in second chances. I believe in redemption. I believe that people deserve a second chance. But what I don't believe is that people given a second chance sit up and do the things that people were concerned. He is everything that everyone thought he was going to end up being. The signs was always there. But you done gave this man a level of hubris and arrogance that is beneath me. The smile on his face, the sheer pleasure he had in doing this, taking that vote. And I know how that vote really got done, but I have been not allowed to tell it. But all I got to say is, too bad, so sad. It doesn't matter how he got those votes. It doesn't matter how he called that vote. It doesn't matter about any of the stuff that he did. Because at the end of the day, we all know who's playing these games. It's been disappointing to watch. Some people are disappointing and some people are not. I'm not disappointed in Kenyatta Johnson because at this point, he is showing us every aspect of him. He is so predictable. This is so textbook him. Isaiah, that's going to be the one that's going to be the one for a lot of people. Because you have been in these spaces. You have talked to people. You know the issues. But you're trying to look out for yourself. He think he going to be mayor. I'm going to tell you something right now. That man will not be the mayor of Philadelphia. He won't be. I'll bet on that. I'll bet on that. When all of this is said and done, that man will not be the mayor of Philadelphia. He will not be. You got to wear better suits. You got to wear suits that fit you. And people got to trust you. Because the reality is that people don't trust him. People don't know where he stands. And see, one thing about Kenyatta, one thing about the Jimmy Haritys of the world, one thing about the Helen Gims of the world. Well, for a certain part with Helen Gims, she flip-flopped a little bit too. But you got to get to a point where folks got to know where you stand. If people can't read where you stand on issues, then people can't trust you. When you try to be everybody's friend, you're nobody's friend. See, one thing about me, I pick sides. They say you better pick a side and stay there. I pick sides. Because being a leader means you got to make decisions and you got to stand on business. That man likes to flip-flop too much. People don't know if he's a true blue Democrat. People don't know if he's a progressive. They don't know if he's a moderate. He just talk out the side of his neck. He lacks honesty when it comes to this shit. Transparency as well. And it's a performance. And I'm not electing any amateur. And when the time comes and he wants to be the next mayor of this city, don't forget this vote. I mean, listen, anything can change because that's part of the problem. These people are already gunning for a seat after Sherelle. Look, Sherelle's going to run for mayor in 2027? They're not trying to challenge her in 2027. They're waiting for 2031. If this arena happens, which it is likely to happen, when that congestion and all that other shit goes down, I mean, I would even say, I don't even know if some of these people are going to keep their seats in 2027. The world is changing. With this construction, this development, the Chinatown people are continuing to fight like they are. They're not going to forget the people that voted the way they did. I definitely not. I ain't going to hold you. Some of these people, I'm not going to vote for again. Look, my city councilwoman is Jamie Gautier. If she runs for re-election, I'm going to vote for her again. I've had my ups and downs with her, but I got to respect it. I got to respect that she stood on business. It wasn't easy. It wasn't, but I got to respect it. Now, as far as the vote, the actual official vote will be this upcoming Thursday. This will be the season finale of City Council Live on WRD 96.1 FM, 900 AM, Progressive Black Talk Media. This will be the final episode before we come back in January, in mid-January. So if you want to tune in, the show starts at 10 a.m. on the dot. And we'll be on for that final City Council session before we close out for the holiday break. So we'll see what the final vote is. But so far, it's looking 12-5. So last week, for those who want to know what happened, it passed out of committee, which means that it's going to be voted on the floor this upcoming Thursday. Because it's the majority Democratic City Council, it is safe to say that there's enough votes. They need 9 votes. They got 12. So they got more than enough votes to pass this. We're going to see what the final vote is. We'll see. Will it stay 5? Will it stay 5, 12? We'll see. Maybe there might be 6. Maybe Isaiah wakes up and realizes that because of the pushback he's gotten, he might change his mind. We'll see. But I'm not betting on it. I mean, Philly politics as usual, y'all. Stay woke. So this week's Ask Ernest was, it was interesting because this was a good question. I think some people saw my post on Instagram on Sunday and they were asking me, how do I deal with haters? And I don't answer this question like all the time. Some people ask me, but they, was just like, how do you, they would talk about they were dealing with some situation in their own personal life. And I won't detail it on here, but they were just saying that they're dealing with a situation where they got a new job and certain people in their circle has been acting funny around them, like people that they were cool with. And they just have noticed that there are also other folks that's not in their immediate circle that's been talking shit and stuff. And there's parts of them where they want to snap and they want to go off and they want to name names and drag folks, but they also don't want to give a fuck, but it annoys them. And they were saying that they couldn't think of anybody else that could probably relate to this as much as me. And they wanted to ask me, how do I deal with haters and how do I, deal with that kind of stuff? Because it's not easy, which is true. So over the years, I have had different thoughts about this how do I call it? This subset of people, right? And listen, if you would ask me 10 years ago, child, I used to tag folks and be, I used to be like Rihanna used to be on Twitter back in the golden era of Twitter. The 2010s. Yep. The 2010s was an era, okay? To be real with y'all, from, how do I put this? From 2012 to 2022 were the golden year. That was the golden decade of Twitter. 2012 to 2022 was the golden era of Twitter before Elon Musk bought it. So the year before Elon Musk bought Twitter, or the year Elon Musk bought Twitter, and then 10 years back, that was around, I would say 2022. So 2012, 2022 was like the golden decade of Twitter. that was when Twitter, in my opinion, was at its prime level, those 10 years. And then after that, it's, these past years, like since it's still moving, but it does not have the same efficacy and effectiveness and energy as it had. To be honest with you, I would even argue that after the 2020 racial uprisings, that was when Twitter, kind of began to like. So to be honest with you, I would say from 2010 to 2020. Yeah, because I came to college in 2010 and I was on Twitter then. I would say 2010 to 2020. Like that entire 2010s decade. That was Twitter at its best. But I remember Rihanna used to be on there and she used to be oh my God, I used to love Rihanna on Twitter when she used to be active on Twitter. But I say this to say that back then I was very big on like being confrontational with certain folks. Clapping back, all of that. But as my career began to evolve and I became more visible, me and my hate, there's a story to be, there's a timeline of how my haters met on the same ground and then how I got above ground. And what I mean by that is that when I look at my evolution from how I used to respond to haters to where I am today with them, is also a measure in my trajectory, my projection in life, and my trajectory. So, for example, when I said like 10 years ago, I would have been tagging people, cussing them out, I wasn't much of a name, which meant there was really no consequences or any repercussions. It was like, you talk shit, I talk shit. We talking shit to each other. But as time has progressed, it's become more and more clear to me like, okay, something is going on. There is a different world at this point, there is a different type of circumstances are different. I got more people watching me. And also what I'm recognizing is these people want to make a name for themselves after my name. And so through time, I began to recognize that the issues and the people that talk shit, they were talking shit because they wanted to have proximity to me. Like it meant something to say, which is funny. I'm going to have to say it this way, but I can't. I mean, a fact is fact that I got an issue with Ernest Owens. And that became a thing. And it's like, what? Like you know what I'm saying? Like that, that is a thing that people want to say. They want to use this, they want to use that moment to then, that's their identity, where they have an identity where they can say, oh snap, I have an issue with this person. Like I got beef with this person. That was an identity for them. And people will fuel it, where they will come to me and say, well, this person said this. And so it was almost like I had to respond. And so people had relevance off of having an issue with me. And so it shifted where it was like, there was a time where I said, oh, a person said something, they disagree with me about something or whatever, and I'm treating them like they're my peer, like, oh, this person has an issue with me. Well, what's the problem? What's the smoke? Like, I have to respond. And I began to realize, like, oh no, there's an identity here. Your identity is rooted in, having relevance based on the experience with me. And I was like, I don't really want to make these hoes famous. And I'm not trying to give people more relevance that see fit. And so then I said, you know what, for one aspect of it, I don't need to respond to this. That was one approach I had for a while. But then something else hit me. As I looked over the years at some of my biggest critics and folks that talk shit, it never changed the outcome of where I was going and what I was doing. And that was something that hit me very, very closely, was like, oh shit, like none of the stuff that is happening is impacting or shaping anything that is instrumental in my life. Like there's there is nothing, none of this stuff is shaping none of this stuff is shaping any stuff that's happening. Whether or not, if someone said, oh, I don't like this, or I can't stand this, no one was saying, oh, this is happening because of X, Y, and Z. This is going to stop this. This is going to impact this. It just never did. It's just like, okay, people didn't like it. Someone had some negative to say. And I'm just sitting here looking like, okay, so you have this negative opinion, but is that really changing or stopping any of the stuff that's shaping my world or the world that I live in? Like it didn't even impact any of that. And so that was a red flag for me. Well, in a good way. Maybe I would call it a black flag. Where I began to realize, oh snap, this isn't changing anything that's impacting me. This isn't shaping the altitude or the impact of some of the stuff that I thought I cared about. And this is the thing that I was worried about the most, the things that I was stressing out about or thinking, oh, this is going to be this and that. It didn't change the trajectory, the output of that. And so for me, that was the moment where I realized, like, oh, snap, I don't have to give this that level of focus. I don't have to give this that level of priority. I don't have to do that. And that was the big thing for me, was like recognizing I don't have to center the critiques or the opinions of people who, in the larger scheme of things, do not impact or shape the shit that I have going on in my life. That was tough because, when you hear people say things, they have opinions or, gossip or whatever, it do piss you off. You be like, damn, fuck this, da da da. But then you take a step back and you say, well, is any of this going to change the outcome? Is any of this going to change the outcome of everything that's happening right now? That was a big one for me. That was the big one for me. And so once I started really considering that if I just didn't fucking engage with it, unless somebody was coming up to me, confronting me, which, to be clear, nobody was doing. Nobody was coming up to me, stepping up to me, being like, I got a problem. Because they didn't want that smoke. But these are just people just, in comment sections, talking to people in certain networks that I know. I was like, well, let them talk. I mean, people can talk. Let them talk. Because at the end of the day, they don't really want that smoke. Most of the people that we consider haters, they're not really people that really actually want the smoke. They really don't actually want you. Half of the time, they only want you to know that you're talking shit. But, they fake. And so when you get to that point, you have to take a step back and realize, and this is just the cruel reality, when you're at a certain level in your life, it's like, I'm going to keep doing what the fuck I'm going to do. You can stay mad. Look, we all got a job. We all got a role to play. My role is to do what the fuck I want to do. And your role is to be pissed off about it. We all have a role to play. And that's just the role that you've chosen to be. Your role has chosen to be, every time I do something, your goal is to be mad. And my goal is to just keep doing what I'm doing. And everybody has a role. And as long as people play their role in a very, I could say respectful, but a very safe manner, all should be well. And all typically do is well. And so when I look back at the past 10 years and the past several years of my career, a lot of the times the things I have never really, for the most part, have had any major impact by my haters. Like, it hasn't stopped anything going on for me. It's just kind of been where it's been. And it's like, okay, these things happen. And you just kind of just be like, okay, you don't like something? Sure. Listen, there's people I can't stand, I don't like. But I've never been obsessed with people I don't know or don't have a relationship with to have an opinion. It's one thing when you're work with somebody, you got a coworker, you know some people, whatever, and you disagree with some things. That's whatever. That's life. But there are literally people on the internet. There are people out here that are obsessed with me. And I'm like obsessed in the way of like, they just every time I do something, they got something to say. Good or bad. Whatever it is, whatever I got going on. They're obsessed in a way where it's like, and it's like grown ass people. Like grown when I mean grown ass people, these are people, whenever I use the term grown ass people, these are people old enough to be my parents or grandparents. I'm grown, but I'm not grown ass yet. I'm not at the age of my parents' age. Like when I get to my 50s and whatever, then that's different. But when I say grown ass adults, I mean people old enough to be my parents or grandparents. But I'm like, if I was their age, I could imagine being fixated on somebody that was my age. But then again, there's something about me that do something for them. I don't know. I think some of them might be dealing with their own internal, insecurities about where they landed in life. And I'm their target for that. And I'll get to why this is going to be relevant for another topic on Jay. Yeah, we're going to talk about Jay-Z and all that. We're going to get there. But all this stuff is never in a vacuum, is what I'm saying. So my advice to you would be, it should just really evaluate in the larger scheme of things, is any of this stopping anything that you're doing? Is any of this impacting your livelihood, the money you make, all the work, your family? Like, is any of this impacting that? Or are you just in a state of mind where, again, this is real, where some of us have struggled with perfectionism, where you kind of want everybody to like you. You kind of want everybody to agree with you. You kind of want everybody to, and you got to get to a certain point where you have to recognize that because people are their own people, you can't control how people think about you. You can control the facts. Now, if people don't like you and they're just saying it based on opinion and taste, okay, that's fine. You can control the facts, though. Somebody say, oh, I don't like so-and-so because they're a scammer. Well, hold on now. Is that a fact? Like, can you actually say they scammed? Because you can't just be lying on people. And a lot of people like to lie on people. So that's another story. But you can't control people's biases, their opinions. You can control the facts, though. So there are people who've tried to just lie on me and say, oh, Ernest don't support that. Hold on now. What? Ernest is a blah, blah, blah. He don't support black folks. What? He's a this, he's that. Hold on. These are, come on, let's put facts. So I often tell people we gotta have facts. If you dislike me for opinions, you could just say that. And what I found is that people who've tried to make factual disagreements about me, it was shaped by personal bias, where it was like kind of like with Kamala. How people was like, oh, it's just something about her. And it was like, and it would just make lies about, oh, she don't got a policy. And it was like, did she have a policy? Or like it was like, oh, she doesn't have a policy. She doesn't have this on this. She ain't got no policy for black men. And then she drops these policies and it was like, oh, well, there's something about her that's blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, well, is it the about her, or is it just the fact that you have other issues with her that is deeper than that? So it was not about that. It was about her it was about her gender. It was about her, her sex. It was about her gender. It was about her race. It was all these other things. So these biases take place and take shape in different ways. And people just need to be honest about it and stop lying. Like, you know what it is. You know why you don't. But that's what sometimes happens. People will try to make a fact out of something, and then you realize ain't got nothing to do about that. It's about other issues, insecurities, biases, whatever. It's deeper than that. So that's something I've just learned through the process, and just recognizing that it's okay for people not to like you. Because you don't like people either. You don't like everybody. So if you don't like everybody, how can everybody like you? Duh. So that's been my advice. And I think, I don't know, this resonates with different people. I know some people I know, they get into these ruts over, ooh, this person don't like me, or these people are saying this about me. And I've been there. And as I've gotten older, I've just have learned more and more how, I don't know, just how more expected it's to be, but also not to harp on it. Like, that's the other important part. Do not make what you do oh, haters gonna be mad. Haters gonna be. I'm not that person either. I've gone through my phases. I'm not necessarily obsessed with haters being mad or glad or whatever. I don't give a fuck. Like I'm at a point now where it's like I don't want them to have that kind of space in my mind either. It's like when a person breaks up with somebody and they're just so obsessed in making the person they break up with mad. It's like I don't really care about if my ex, like if you moved on from your ex, you should be in a space in your mind where you don't have to make them feel no type of way because they don't matter. I feel like when you make the ex be the reason why you doing something or whatever, does that mean that person still has space in your mind? And there's also an opportunity for them to still come back. Where I'm at with my life is that whatever I do, I don't have in mind that I'm gonna make haters mad. They're gonna be mad. That's just a given. Duh. I'm more invested in how am I gonna feel? What opportunities is gonna bring for people that I care about? How is this gonna advance the things I want to do and the goals I want to do? But haters is never like at the forefront of my mindset about it. It's like, okay, I know that this gonna happen. Some people they gonna definitely be pissed or whatever, but that's never my goal. Like my obsession is never to get in this tit for tat because I feel like when you get in that mindset about it, then that also robs you of the joy. Like we're spending so much time talking about people who don't like us. Do we ever take about the time to invest in the people that do like us? And so I have, again, this took time. I have definitely evolved on this thinking because I have not been in this headspace my entire time, navigating all this. But in the past, I want to say 2 years recently, I have definitely come to this mindset of when I think about the consistent things in my life, it has really been my friends and my family and my close network. I'm just more interested in what they think and what they're doing because they're invested in me. And so, from a business standpoint, you need to be focused on your investors. You need to be focused on the business that pays you. Everybody else that has their critiques, their opinions, their other shit, it's like, okay, they can have those opinions, but do that really shape and impact? Like, are you prioritizing those people more than the people that give a fuck about you? Because if you start spending so much time on haters and all this other shit, you're going to lose your base. Democrats, listen, message. You're going to lose your base when you're too busy focused on trying to appeal to haters. You need to be focused on your investors and your support, building your brand, building your base. So that has been my strategy in recent years. And I think that has given me a better peace of mind and more success because I have realized that, and honestly, a good wise woman named Oprah had given me some of this advice too. But that's what Oprah does well. Oprah spends more energy focused on her supporters, her friends, her network. She does not really give a fuck about. She knows that there's some people that be talking ain't shit. We can't escape that. But she rarely addresses them, rarely talks about them, and rarely gives a fuck about them. And that is why I think she has been really successful at what she do. And that is something I've noticed that with really highly successful people, that they have been more invested. I think about Taylor Swift. Taylor Swift has gotten better in recent years because she's been focused more on her fans and her career than she has in her exes and her critics. She's always been successful in her career, but I've noticed that she's been super successful because she really zeroes in and focuses on her fan base. And because she's focusing on her fan base more, the Swifties, and just really listening to what they want and giving them what they want, that has broadened her base and her success more than worried about Kanye and all these other people that's been talking shit. Because you can go back and forth and do diss records and all that. But at a certain point, you got to recognize ain't nothing moving and changing over here on both parties. And you got to hold it and fold it and move the fuck on. So that's my lesson. That's my advice. So, moving along, movies. Movies. This has been a good season for movies, y'all. The new Lion King film, Mufasa, The Lion King, is coming out this Friday. I have seen it. I've told you this already. I love it. I saw it another time. Again, I get to see these movies before, the public, of course. The second time I watched it, it definitely hit again in a different way. Now that the cat's out the bag, Blue Ivy as Kiara is great. Beyonce is voiced as a voice character. Both of them are voice characters, um, and they're great. This is a really good film. I think a lot of people are going to really like it. It definitely, uh, it is definitely one of the better Lion King. It is better than the live action. The first live action film. I definitely enjoyed this story more than the original live action film. Now, of course, nothing beats the animated Disney film, but this story is just great. And also, no one knows what to expect. There are some, well, I don't want to tell too much, but there are some elements of The Lion King 2 in this story. That I will give you. That's all I'll tell you. So there's certain characters and storylines that do connect. So I recommend seeing it. I like that it's coming out in this like right before Christmas. So before the crazy Christmas rush comes in, there are some good opportunities to really see everything before it gets real peak Christmas. I mean, we're halfway in Christmas now. Well, not Christmas. We're halfway. We'll be next week? We'll be this upcoming week will be a week away. So if you was trying to get out before it gets too crazy, this would be a perfect weekend to watch it. Because everybody's about to watch and talk about it. Also, I want to add, Conclave is on Peacock. A lot of y'all were messaging me about Conclave and asking me about that movie after I was giving it high praises. It is available to watch on Peacock right now. So if you have Peacock, you can watch Conclave on there. But these Golden Globe nominations, I want to talk about that. There were a lot of surprises. I was surprised Danielle Deadwaller to not get nominated for Piano Lesson. It's becoming clear that Piano Lesson is not going to be a major Oscar contender. She might get the nomination at the Oscars, but the movie overall does not seem to be getting a lot of that buzz that people thought it could have had. It's not getting any major nominations outside of simply Best Supporting Actress for Danielle Deadwaller. Outside of her, it's not getting that many. But we're starting to see some front runners for Oscars, slowly but surely. For Best Supporting Actor, I think the front runner is Kieran Culkin. That's Macaulay Culkin's brother, who was awesome in Succession. Looks like he's going to get this Best Supporting Actor Oscar, or he's a front runner for this movie called A Real Pain. If you have not seen it, it's the Jesse Eisenberg film. Jesse Eisenberg, as you all might recall, he was nominated for Best Actor in The Social Network. He has since moved into writing screenplays and other things, and he's been, kind of quiet since. He hasn't been fully quiet, but he's been kind of quiet since The Social Network. So A Real Pain is his comeback. It's a nice indie film. It's about 90 minutes long. It's a great film, and Kieran Culkin is doing a really good job, and I think he's going to get an Oscar. I know I wanted Denzel too, but Macaulay Culkin is killing it. But, front runner, I think, is Kieran Culkin for that. Best Supporting Actress is a fight, I think, between Ariana Grande for Wicked and Zoe Saldana for Amelia Perez. If you want to see Amelia Perez, it is on Netflix. It's a very interesting film. It's a musical, but a very interesting film. Let me just say that. But I would say that the front runners for the Oscar is going to be between Ariana Grande and Zoe Saldana. Those are the two fighting for it. Best Actor? It is tough. I'm hearing that it is a two-way fight between Adrian Brody for The Brutalist and Timothée Chalamet for A Complete Unknown. This is the upcoming Bob Dylan biopic. People think that Timothée Chalamet could potentially win his first Oscar for that Bob Dylan biopic that's coming out. But a lot of people also think that Adrian Brody in The Brutalist is so good as well. But it looks like those two are fighting it out. But I've been told don't sleep on Coleman Domingo for Sing Sing, but that doesn't seem likely. But what I've been hearing is that there's 4 guaranteed nominees for Best Actor that are like lock-ins, and we're trying to figure out who that 5th slot going to go to. But the 4 Best Actor slots that we think is going to be guaranteed for Best Actor in the Oscars is Coleman Domingo for Sing Sing. Who else? Coleman Domingo for Sing Sing. Timothée Chalamet for A Complete Unknown. Adrian Brody for The Brutalist. And Daniel Craig for Queer. But that 5th slot is people don't know who's going to get that 5th slot for Best Lead Actor. Best Actress, that is tough. People are saying that right now it's looking like it's a 3-way fight between Mikey Madison for a movie called Nora. It is a good film. I did enjoy it. Definitely should check it out once it comes out in streaming. Marianne Jean-Baptiste for Hard Truths, who's my personal favorite. She could be the 2nd Black woman in Oscar history following Halle Berry to win the Oscar for Best Lead Actress. There is people thinking that there's a chance for her. And then Angelina Jolie for Maria. That's going to be on Netflix coming up next week. And you can check that film out. It is a great film. I mean, she's great in it. The film is okay, but her performance is what stands out. So we're looking at a 3-way tie, a fight, right? Other people in contention, Nicole Kidman for Baby Girl, but there's been people up in the air about whether or not that performance is going to rise to the occasion of her other performances. But those 3 are the ones. Now, people really think Mikey Madison's going to win, but people said don't sleep on Angelina Jolie, and I'm not sleeping on Angelina Jolie. But people also said this Marianne Jean-Baptiste has been critically acclaimed, and a lot of people are really feeling her. Now, she didn't get the Golden Globe nomination, which shocked everybody, but she's been getting it everywhere else. A lot of people think Cynthia Erivo might get nominated for Wicked. I can see that. I don't think she's going to win, but I could definitely see her getting nominated. So there's a lot up in the air for the best lead actress pool. But those are all of my current, based on what I've been seeing. There's been Critic Choice Awards. We haven't seen SAG, which is the Screen Actor Guild Awards. We have not seen BAFTAs, which is the British Academy Awards. They're pretty good precursors for the Oscars. Oscar nominations are coming out in January. The Oscars, I believe, are on Sunday, March 2nd, which should be really good. Yeah, Sunday, March 2nd is the Oscars. So I got to get ready for, Oscar previews. But that's going to be a nice night altogether. So we'll see. I love the Oscar party that I go to. But we'll see. Now to music. I'm only going to, music right now, we're in holiday mode. We're in holiday mode. I mean, Taylor Swift's album is just went number 1 on Billboard thanks to 17th Weekend number 1 recently. But all the holiday songs are number 1. Mariah Carey's All I Want for Christmas Is You is number 1 on the Billboard hits. Rockin' Around the Christmas Tree by Brenda Lee is number 2. Last Christmas by Wham is number 3, which is a hit. Mr. Johnson loves that song. Okay, he be playing that Wham all the time. That is a really good song. Last Christmas do hit by Wham. That was a hit. TV Off by Kendrick went down to number 4. And then Jingle Bell Rock by Bobby Helms is number 5. So we're in a holiday mode in the charts. We're going to be on that until the end of the year. Not much surprise there. But let's talk about the Jay-Z case. A lot has happened since the last time we did this podcast. I'm kind of happy that I didn't do the last episode about it because it was just allegations, but we've seen a lot of stuff play out in these last couple of days. So basically the stuff to keep in mind with this case is that, Jay-Z has been accused of raping a 13-year-old girl in 2000, 13 years old, with Diddy at a after party after the VMAs in 2000. This is the allegation. Tony Busby, who was a Houston trial lawyer, he's a very known lawyer who's worked on several major blockbuster cases, one involving the Astroworld situation with Travis Scott, one that involved the BP oil spill, I believe, oil case. He's worked on one that involved another football player. He's had some big cases. He's also a guy who's donated $500,000 to Trump's inauguration the first time Trump ran. So, just for food for thought. And he's also have had lawsuits where he's been accused of misinformation with political campaigns and whatnot. This is all stuff you can find on the internet. And also articles by credible journalists. So Tony Busby is an interesting character. Well, he's been making news because he has been the guy who claims he has hundreds of allegations, victims that have accused Diddy and other high-profile celebrities of sexual misconduct. And he has said that, he has these allegations, and pretty much, he tries to get settlements because these are all civil cases under his purview. These are all civil cases. These are not criminal cases. So to be very clear, he has nothing to do with the current Fed situation involving the feds that has reigned in on Diddy. He has nothing to do with that. He's involved in these civil suits that basically civil suits are non-criminal. So whatever the outcome of these cases, that would not lead any of these Diddy or any of these high-profile celebrities to go to jail or face any type of criminal punishment. This is all situations that would end potentially with financial settlements. Most people that do civil suits pursue money. Not to say that they're liars, let me be very clear, but if they pursue a civil suit, they're trying to get a financial settlement. Because in certain cases, they may not be able to do criminal because of statute of limitations. So there's all kinds of scenarios that take place here. Busby has been accused by several people of looking for money grabs, and his tactics have been questioned. Certain statements he's made have been along the lines of, if these people do not want to settle, in private, then he will, file these cases publicly. Some people have considered that to be allegedly extortion, that in many ways he is using the court of public opinion, allegedly, to bully people into settling, whether or not they're innocent or not. Because in certain cases, if you're a high-profile celebrity that is accused of something that you may or may have not done, in this day and age, an accusation in this day and age can carry a lot of weight that can make people, the mere allegation alone being heinous, can make a person, choose to not necessarily want to deal with the public backlash. So as a result, some individuals might simply just say, look, I got enough money, I'll throw some money, make it go away. I don't even have to be named. I have to deal with the scrutiny. And is the settlement an admission of guilt? Not necessarily. But some people may not want the public scrutiny, the necessary stress and drama that will happen to their family if they decide to go public. But there are some people that recognize that if they have enough money or resources, have enough power and influence, that if they believe, right, that this is an extortion, if they believe that they are innocent, and they know that they are innocent, they truly believe they're not innocent, that they're not guilty, they've not done anything wrong, and they see it for what it is, they will stand the test to say, you know what, I want there to be no confusion. Because if there was ever to be a leak that there was a settlement, the mere speculation of a settlement could also create the dark cloud over one's head. That when does it stop? When does it stop? If you settle one time, you can settle again. And a lawyer could consistently come to you and threaten you with more allegations, and you can potentially be having to spend so much money. But if you feel like you're truly innocent, you know that you're innocent, what would you do in that situation? Ladies and gentlemen, we have now met the person who would do what I think somebody who could potentially, what I would perceive to be innocent, would do. Jay-Z. Now, let me say before I get into this, I don't know whether or not Jay-Z is innocent or guilty. I don't know because I wasn't there. And to be honest, none of us were. So we don't know anything. But I'm going to give you my perception, what I personally believe. Not what I know, but what I think, what I perceive. Jay-Z is acting like an innocent man, in my opinion. Jay-Z is doing what, if I was in his shoes, would be doing if I was innocent. Because we always ask the question, what would an innocent person do if they're being falsely accused? And there's a lot of people that I've spoken to over the past several days who oftentimes are going to miss certain details and points, and oftentimes will make it a conversation about rape culture in general. And I want to stop you all right there, respectfully. Here's what we got to stop doing as a society. We have to recognize that celebrity culture and the ways in which celebrities, very rich people, powerful people, engage in the lifestyles that they have and the experiences they face is very different than everyday people. And what I mean by that is that I personally believe that there is a high likelihood that a high-profile person and very rich person, a celebrity person, that the level to which a person at that level will be lied on and accused of something they didn't commit when it refers to sexual assault or anything of that nature is much higher than an everyday average person. What I mean by that is that the guy across the street that nobody knows, if that person is accused of rape by somebody, it most likely will be true than if a very famous celebrity that is a billionaire, if they're accused, the likelihood of it being true comparably is different. And I'm not saying that billionaires and very rich people don't rape people. Oh, they absolutely do. Listen, we know. But the likelihood of a motive that justifies the possibility of a lie, it can be much higher in situations where there is a high profile person involved. How do we know? Because high profile people get lied on at a higher level in the press, in the public, than the everyday person. They have people making conspiracy theories about them. There's people that write books and tell lies in the press about them every single day. And so if you don't think for 5 seconds that if people will put lies about their family, their age, their livelihoods, their business encounters, if you don't think that is something that kind of stuff happens to everyday people, it does not. So the likelihood, there's a higher rate that someone will lie on a rich person for something like that than they would on an everyday person. So when you talk about, well, if Jay-Z is this and this and people don't believe the accuser, what does that mean for what happened to me? It does not mean anything. These are not the same experiences. Your uncle, this guy in your college campus that did this to you, whoever did, they did that. And there's a likelihood people will believe you. And there are people that don't believe victims on different levels. But what I want to be clear about in framing this is that you should not predicate celebrity culture and providing a level of exoneration or not exoneration for whatever happened to you. We are so codependent on celebrity culture to determine our standing in life. So if, Beyonce doesn't win Album of the Year, that means that racism is alive and well. Racism is alive and well whether or not this woman gets 55 Grammys or not. It sometimes pisses me off when celebrity culture, like people will say, oh, this person didn't get this. That just shows you that racism is still alive and well in America. And if that rich black person got $1 million or won a Grammy or won an award, racism still exists in America, y'all. Celebrities do not dictate our altitude when it comes to these issues. And so when Harvey Weinstein's case got moved around a certain way, that did not mean that victims across America were somehow not to be believed. We have to stop putting weight. We have to recognize that in Hollywood and in that universe, The rules are different. The experience are different. The motives are different. It's a lot more complicated than our everyday lives. Because the stakes are higher. You, as a victim, an everyday person that was abused, at the time to which that happened, when you went and you spoke your truth, you didn't think to get a lawyer. You didn't think to have a civil suit. You didn't accuse this person with the thoughts of getting a payout because that person most likely was not rich or had any money. You spoke your truth because it was your truth. And I think what people don't understand is that in celebrity scenarios, there are people that lie and there are people that do tell the truth, right? Cassie, I believe Cassie the moment she spoke on it. Because one, Cassie lived with him. They were together. There was corroborating evidence from the jump that substantiated her experience. Several women that accused R. Kelly. There was corroborating evidence. They were literally working with him. He had the reputation. There was a trail of things that was there that showed this man was a pedophile. With the Diddy situation, I think what's happening is that there are some truth that Diddy definitely did some things to some people. That has been documented and talked about over the years, right? A lot of people knew it before the cops came in. But here's the thing. There are some people who've been just dropping their cases and their allegations. There has been people that have accused lawyers of trying to make them over-embellish things for money and settlements. There has been people that's been trying to jump on the gravy train where I do believe that Diddy definitely did some things. I mean, there's been numerous credible sources that have said this. But there are some people that are jumping on the bandwagon trying to cash in on something. And so as a journalist and as a critical thinker, there has to always be a level of skepticism that you have to look at when allegations are very sensational and very strong. So let's talk about Jay-Z. Jay-Z has been a man accused of, in the past of being mean. He's fought people. He's been a little violent. But I've never heard anything of this magnitude, that this man was a predator, a rapist, or of that nature. Never heard that. Never. No one in the industry has walked around saying this man was this massive predator. Yes, he's had some misogyny. Yes, he's not been the nicest, faithful husband. But never heard anything like this. And for a man who's been in the rap game for 30 years, for this to now hit the ceiling in this way, I'm not saying that it can't be true, but I do have some levels of skepticism here. We've heard about Diddy for years. We've heard about R. Kelly. Ain't heard shit about no Jay-Z. Ain't nobody been running around Jay-Z, no. And here's the thing. People can always be who they are. But when you're in the industry for that long, there's been all kind of rumors about Jay-Z. Okay? But I ain't heard them rumors. Raping 13-year-old girls, that ain't never been a rumor or any speculation around that man's name. So we have to, as a society, I get it. There is this moment, a mob mentality that does take place in society. I've written about it. People do get to a place where when there seems to be this obsession with one type of person or situation, then people just love to then tie people together. It's disgusting, right? It's an obsession with rich people, which I get it. That is the world we're in, where we begin to start saying things like, okay, well, Diddy and Jay-Z, they're super powerful men and they have this conspiracy and they must have been doing this. And you know what I have to say is that there is a disgusting racism that is interesting to me. That while we will sit up and people, and I will say this to black folks too, we'll sit up and we'll look at Elon Musk and we'll look at the, Donald Trump, and they'll be looking at these very rich white men, the Bill Gates, all these people, and we look at them and we want to learn how they make money, and we aspire to them, and we let them be leaders and let them be presidents and rulers of the world. We look at black rich people, and then we automatically have this weird obsession with, making them these massive conspiracy folk. All this, they must be a part of the Illuminati. They must have had to sacrifice people. But all these white people that you look up to and that you aspire to be wealthy as, and you want to do Bitcoin with, you have no interesting global conspiracies about them. Like, it's interesting to me, like the Mark Zuckerbergs of the world, all these rich white men that are out here in tech in these places, everybody seems to want to call them a boss and want to get money like them and invest like them and do these things. But rich black men specifically, any of them, there's some conspiracy. And it's always rooted in homophobia. They must be gay. They must be sleeping with each other in orgies. They must be having secret wives. That was the one thing that disgusted me the most about Cat Williams' narrative, is that everybody's like, Cat Williams, he's speaking truth. But it's like very interesting to me that while Cat Williams may have said some truth about some people, some things, it's very interesting that his framing of power is shifted around black celebrities and entertainers. Like, is that really the black power? Like, is that really how we determine it? Is that we supposed to believe that this global power is in the hands of black hip hop moguls? We're never talking about the silent invisible money. We're never talking about the Robert Smiths. Do y'all even know who Robert Smith is? Exactly. Google him. Y'all not talking about Byron Allen. Do y'all even know who Byron Allen is? Google him. It's very interesting who y'all pick and y'all obsession with celebrity culture, that you've given these celebrities an inflated sense of self. That you all look at them like they're really way more powerful than what they really are. And you want to believe, we're supposed to be trained to believe that the black celebrities are the ones that, like Oprah, and them, that they're the ones that's really pulling the strings, and they got all this, they're so connected to these. Do you all hear yourselves? And do you all hear the anti-blackness and a lot of your thinking and your rhetoric around this? I have seen a lot of interesting anti-blackness. And also from white folks that try to do it. And I'm like, but then it's interesting because even with the Epstein shit, nobody is talking about all these white folks that's connected with Epstein, but we want to believe, we want to make these connections between Epstein and Diddy and Jay-Z. It's like, do you hear yourselves? You sound fucking stupid. And a lot of times people who have had traumatic experiences are projecting conspiracy theories based on it. And you don't see how people manipulate that, how media plays into a lot of people's trauma and vulnerabilities to make them then conspire against people that are really not the main targets and people. Look, Diddy did the things that he did and he had problems, but Diddy's no Epstein. Diddy is no higher than, Diddy has his problems and he should go to jail and face his consequences. But these massive conspiracies of thinking that it's always connected to black power systems. It never indicts white power systems. There's never questions for rich white men who hold the real power. You got a man who got over $400 billion and nobody's spending no time questioning him. You got a man who's a billionaire as the president of the United States. And yet we got all these conspiracy theories for Kamala Harris, but none for Donald Trump. So Diddy and Jay-Z and Kamala Harris is doing some shady shit, but somehow Trump is in his own universe. Okay. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm just, yeah, okay. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Jaguar White just somehow random, she just knows all this stuff and she's still alive to tell the story. Mm-hmm. Okay, sure. So I started to tell myself, what's interesting to me with the Jay-Z situation is that up until that interview, because we're going to talk about the NBC interview, but there's been all this talk about the connections and Jay-Z and this. And it was interesting because people automatically believed it. A lot of people did. And I said, well, there's no evidence. There's no Cassie video. We didn't know who the accuser is. There's no details about the accuser. Nothing. And it's interesting because people jumped on it and immediately believed this narrative about Jay-Z. And people say, well, why is that? Because here's the reason why. Because of his proximity to a woman named Beyonce. There are people that hate Beyonce and Jay-Z, but specifically Beyonce. Because Beyonce is a black woman who has pretty much not really dealt with any major controversies. She is the closest that we've had to a perfect black celebrity. Okay, while Michael Jackson has had his controversies, Janet had Nipplegate, Mariah had her meltdowns and stuff, Whitney, of course, R.I.P. She is one of the only black mainstream celebrities that has never really had a major controversy, like something that has really set her back. And there are people who are obsessed with her and jealous of her because of that. And so there has been an infatuation of trying to bring this woman down because of the jealousy. We see it with Oprah. People are so obsessed with Oprah and jealous of Oprah. And because of those reasons, have always tried to find a way to bring her down. And so, because of who Beyonce's married to, there's been infatuation with automatically wanting to believe that Jay-Z did this because there's an interest in trying to quote-unquote humble Beyonce. Because that's how celebrity obsession and fandom works. Because this woman needs to be humbled. Because heaven forbid there's confident black women and black men. People want to humble me every day. Whatever the fuck that means. Acting as if being black and being gay in America and the discrimination I do face and the setbacks I do face doesn't humble me enough. But heaven forbids I have confidence and swagger and have the ability to live in a world where I can do what I want or strive to. We don't allow black people to have that. Or we desire them to aspire to, but once they get it, we then are invested in seeing a downfall in ways that we don't see white powerful people do in the same way. Now, let's be clear, nobody's perfect, and there are people that do things that should be held accountable. But I will say that when people are wrong, they are wrong, and we should definitely hold them accountable. But in this situation, I don't see anything I can't see a reason for these individuals to go through the level of criticism and hatred they're getting without recognizing that it's just pure, it's other motives. So, for example, what's interesting is that with all these conversations around Jay-Z, nobody's talking about the victim, the alleged victim. No one's saying, oh, I feel bad for the victim. I wonder about her, whatever. They're making jokes. They're talking about Beyonce. They're talking about shit that don't got nothing to do with the allegations being made. Nobody gives a fuck about rape culture or victims in these situations when it deals with high-profile celebrities. They are really trying to go even. People are talking about, whoa, that's what he get for coming for Drake. Really? So you look at a rape allegation as karma? So are you telling me you don't really believe that Jay-Z did it? You just hope that the allegation brings him down because you're mad about what he did with the NFL? Interesting. So none of the allegations, I look at 50 Cent, which I've already told y'all, 50 Cent don't give a fuck about victims. 50 Cent is just mad because he's in competition with these moguls and he wants to be the only black man standing in it. I mean, he's who he is. He's trash. Mind you, this man has been accused of rape as well. But again, we don't place the care when we have a target. And so people do not like Jay-Z. And so because they don't like him, they just wanted, before there was even an outlandish allegation made, they were already trying to connect him to it because they did not like him. And so it was only a matter of time before somebody was bold enough to put his name in something for him to then have to then be allowed to scrutiny. And the moment he is alleged, I saw people jumping up being like, I knew it. Did you know it? Or did you just want to believe it because you just don't personally like him? And so for where I stand, I cannot like a person all day. But one thing I'm not going to do is just like believe a lie. You can believe opinions, but you got to have your facts straight. And so there are people who are capitalizing off of this moment in very gross and disgusting ways. And it's like, okay, you don't give a fuck about no victims. You don't care about preventing rape. How do I know? Because the same people that are trying to settle a score with him is doing it in support of other people who've been accused of sexual misconduct. And you got to go to yourself and say, so you're not really upset. You really are trying to defend another person accused. This got nothing to do about victims. Which is why anytime you see situations like this, you have to ask yourself, what is this really about? So, in my opinion, Jay-Z's response to the situation, he's been acting, in my opinion, like an innocent man. He has countersued Tony Busby. Because let's be clear, this case was initially filed in October. When the case was first filed, the lawsuit was first filed, it left out Jay-Z's name and named Diddy, it named an anonymous celebrity, and then it named another female celebrity that was apparently there watching. Apparently, there was an attempt by this person to mediate with Jay-Z. Tony Busby reached out to Jay-Z to try to mediate. So he was asking him to mediate and have a conversation. Now, let me explain some to y'all about this mediation stuff. If you go into a meeting to mediate, that is, in many ways, can be perceived as there is something here. Like, in other words, if a lawyer reaches out to you with an allegation and they want to call you in for mediation, the question becomes, what are we mediating? Because to mediate something means I did something, I'm trying to figure out how we can handle this without the courts being involved. What happens at mediations is that a settlement can be brought out. Jay-Z did not take a mediation. That, to me, is a strong sign to me. Because his mindset was, what the fuck would I be taking a mediation for? I didn't do nothing. You telling me to take a mediation with your client? I don't want to meet your client. I don't want to be in no room. I'm not doing no meetings with you because I didn't do this. You're accusing me of raping 13-year-old girl. I never raped a 13-year-old girl. I didn't do that shit. I'm not doing this shit. He didn't do nothing. You want to sue me? Sue me. I'll take it to court because I didn't do nothing. That's the mindset of a person that is innocent, arguably. Like, if I was accused of something, some bullshit, I'm not about to sit up here and do no conversation about nothing that I did not do. It ain't happened. I'm going to deny it. I'm going to call my lawyer. And if I feel like it's extortion or some money grab shit, we countersuing. That's what he did. And what's funny is that people, this is how I know it's the bullshit. People are like, well, why is he speaking out on top of this? If he didn't say nothing for 24 hours, y'all would have said, oh, he's quiet. Why he quiet? Why he ain't say nothing? He said something immediately. He shut it down immediately. Which one is it? He goes to the premiere of Mufasa Lion King with Beyonce, his mother-in-law Tina Knowles, and his daughter Blue Ivy, which was her first red carpet film debut. He shows up for his daughter. People are like, oh, why is he showing? He's trying to make it a PR move. I'm confused. If Jay-Z did not go and Beyonce went with her daughter, y'all would have said, why Jay-Z not there? He must be hiding. He shows up and now it's, oh, he trying to take the attention away from his daughter. He's trying to use a PR move. Everything he's doing is, to me, acting in the way that an innocent man would move. If he's not innocent, we'll find out. But he's acting like an innocent person move. Why should he have to uproot his life over of a lie? It's his perspective. If you're looking through that perspective, why should I have to not show up for my daughter? Why should I go in silence and hiding when I know that I am being falsely accused of something I didn't do, and I'm suing this person for trying to shake me down for some money? I would be standing on business and making everybody have to fucking deal with that. You think I did something? You don't show up. You don't believe me? Then you go figure it out. But I'm not about to change my life over a lie. And I'll stand 10 toes down on it and defend my innocence. So I feel like he's doing what an innocent person would do. Now, to this accuser, I think the energy over there is weird, to be honest. And I think there's some confusion here. If I wanted to give some grace to this alleged accuser, I think she doesn't know who the hell did it. Or because it just seems like there's inconsistencies. She's admitted to her inconsistencies with her story. First of all, the story is extreme. She claims that she was at, and I'm not going to go into graphic details too much, but she claims that this was 2020 VMAs. She was 13 years old. A friend dropped her out from Jersey, 5-hour drive, 5 hours, y'all, from where she was located. Not Jersey, but 5 hours from some location. Took her to there. She was there at the VMAs. She got dropped off. Somebody connected to Diddy, invited her to an after party. She goes to the after party at a mansion, or his mansion, something of that nature. She was offered a drink by him, and then she was taken to a room where Jay-Z, Diddy, and a third woman, which they have not named, watched. She then leaves, goes to a gas station, and she claims she called her father to pick her up. He picked her up. The father has said he does not recall picking her up or anything of this nature. She claims that she never told her dad what happened in the car, and it was just silent. The father says he does not recall any of this happening, does not know anything about a rape, did not know anything about it, did not pick her up from anything, does not recall any of this. She claims that there was a rock band, a rocker, Madsen, I believe his name is, Madden or whatever, some rock star that was at this party, and she remembered him being there. That group and him said they were not even at the VMAs. They was actually in the Midwest doing a tour. So they've discounted that story. She threw another person's name in the mix, and they weren't even at the party. They were touring at the date to which the VMAs is. Several journalists have reported that Jay-Z and him was not even at the same after party. That even the party in question, that there was a nightclub, that there were two separate parties, and Jay-Z and Diddy were not at those parties. There are paparazzi, because see, this is the thing about journalism. Back then, paparazzi and reporters were following celebrities all night. They weren't even there. So her story has inconsistencies. And she's even admitted her story has inconsistencies. So at this point, she's spoken to NBC News. She has not identified herself. We've seen the hands. She's white. We don't know what she looks like. At this point, she would be about 37, 38 years old at this point. But there's been some inconsistencies. Tony Busby still wants to pursue this case, even though there's a lot of inconsistencies in this allegation. The dates, the facts. She claims that she has a head injury. She has autism. There's a lot of stuff going on here, and it's almost feels like possibly this person might not even recall or remember who actually did it. Because the thing with Diddy was that Diddy did not countersue, because Diddy lawyer and team is not even addressing this case. Like, they're not even investing in it. He's in jail dealing with his other shit. He hasn't even taken the time to even legally battle with Tony Busby on these other allegations. So they're just kind of like lingering right now. Jay-Z, however, has the time, has the money, and the only reason why it looks like Tony Busby is even trying to sue him or go public is because Jay-Z beat him to the chase and has sued him already for extortion. So now, because of that, Tony Busby decided to refile the case and name Jay-Z. And Jay-Z is like, bring it on. His lawyers are trying to get the case dismissed by a judge. At this point, he wants the person who claims they're anonymous to identify themselves publicly on record. In certain cases with other Diddy victims, or people who have alleged victims, they have come out and had to identify. He wants this person not be identified. Their claim, some people are saying, well, if the victim is identified, then that means that, they could face public intimidation, yada, yada, yada. All that is, I hear that, but there is a certain point where if you're going to make such a very salacious allegation, one in which you're now an adult and you're choosing to do this nearly 25 years later, there has to be some level of fairness and accountability in that. Like, think about it. Could you imagine just a bunch of anonymous people just publicly making allegations 20, 25 plus years later against people and not having to identify themselves, but expecting mediations where there's cash settlements involved? Where do they do that at? Like, there has to be a balance. And the reality is that real victims, in my opinion, there is a level to which there is just too much uncertainty. There's too much. And then here's the reality. Let's say the victim is telling the truth. Possibly, right? There's a possibility there could be some truth here. The attorney that she has, in my opinion, is not helping her. Because to try to drag this in the media and have a media trial rather than take this shit to the courts and really duke it out in the courts, all this going to the press and all these interviews, it just gives more of like you're trying to put some public pressure because you're not trying to have this person go to jail. Jay-Z can't go to jail. So then what's happened to Jay-Z? The court of public opinion, the scrutiny of not only himself, but his wife and his business associates. Yeah, this is going to get wrapped up sooner than later. That's what I'm predicting. I could be wrong, but I just feel like it's just Jay-Z played checkers. He played chess, not checkers with this. Like, if you're going to come for the king, you better not miss. And you also, to be clear, this is something serious. Like, the way in which this lawyer is dealing with this case, if you really believed he raped this person at 13 years old, the way that he is bucking at Jay-Z on social media, this is just not giving seriousness to me. This is ego. This is very ego driven. This is very dick measuring contest. This does not feel like if you're doing that for a case involving rape, no consideration for your client. It's unprofessional. And why should I be surprised? This is a man who gave $500,000 to Trump. And this is a man who knows that this man has been accused of rape and other things. You ain't you in him. I'll leave it at that. It's not, the math is not mathing for me, personally. So that's my take on it. We'll see how it progresses, but that's where I stand on it right now. So, moving along. As far as TV goes, this week a lot of shows are on their hiatus right now. I will tell you all, if you have not seen the show Cross on Amazon Prime, I highly recommend it. A lot of shows are on their winter breaks right now, having their season finales, so that's where a lot of shows are at. I've been keeping up with Abbott Elementary, but they're doing their little winter break for now, which literally the show was called Winter Break. So that has been where they're taking their break before they come back. I believe in January for the next following half of the season. But as far as TV goes, I've been really watching Love and Hip Hop Miami. I've been loving it, y'all. I know. But I just, my heart just goes out to Trina. I mean, Trina's problematic in her own ways, but my heart goes out to Trina because it just seems like she can't catch a break with love. It just seems like she gets in these relationships and it's just always some backstory, some drama, and she be fighting the love and don't care what anybody say. But when she love her man, she love her man down. But for my man, that's what it's given for her right now. But I just wanted to say that. And that's this week's episode. Look, this is the final week. I've graded all of my papers for all my finals. My students got all their final grades in. Yes, I'm that professor. I like to put the grades in early. All of my students got their grades. Some people got some F's, y'all. But there was a lot of A's and B's. Couple of C's. A few D's. But this was an overall good semester. I really enjoyed my students. My students definitely did their big one. I'm getting prepared for some big things next year. But this semester teaching was just, pretty decent. I really liked my students overall. They were overall a joy. If you're asking me to compare between Cheney and CCP, I got to keep it 100. CCP really differently was an upgrade. I will always cherish Cheney in my heart because that was my first, my first professor, job. But CCP definitely, the students were, I definitely got to say, I did enjoy my experiences. I'll say that they were definitely a very engaged bunch. But each school has their own unique things. Wrapping up this week, holiday parties. Hopefully pushing out some big announcements this week. I think this is the week I can let one big major announcement come out, and I'm looking forward to it. But yeah, I'm taking it easy. Next week, I will see you all in Houston as I record my podcast in Texas. And you all should stay tuned. And as always, be well and be best. Ernestly Speaking is recorded in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, and can be found on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts. To stay up to date with the latest on the show, follow me on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at Mr. Ernest Owens. Use the hashtag Ernestly Speaking to tell me what you thought about this episode, and check out my website at ernestowens.com.